Hello, hello, and welcome.
All right, just let me know when you're live because I have a couple things to say.
You know what, Kosha? You do the intro this time. Go ahead.
Hmm?
Go ahead, introduce us.
Well, let me know when you're ready.
Go, now, do it.
Are we live?
Yes, go. Introduce us.
Gannian, Zion, Funky, me. How y'all doing?
Fucking amazing.
You missed out the name you came up.
Oh, Seth, if you're listening, love you.
Seth here too. Somewhere.
We've been gone for a couple of weeks again, but we're back. Aren't you all happy? We now have a new name. We're trying out some new names. So this week we are €3 and $1. Next week will be
You're not
something
supposed to
else.
tell them.
And then the week after
That's
that, we'll
the
probably try
joke.
something else again.
You ruined it.
Until we get something that sticks.
All right,
But
restart.
the one thing that we're not doing is $3 and a buck.
3,
because
2,
Koshi will ruin it.
1. Take it away.
Well, we're already going. I'm not doing it again. How is everybody this week?
Just when I think you've said the stupidest thing ever, you keep talking.
Jesus Christ, what a shit show. Ah! Well, it wouldn't be this podcast if we weren't completely fucking things up from the get-go, I suppose. How is everybody this week? Great. Amazing.
Well, you're supposed to point out who you want to talk first. So how are you doing?
You can all speak at the same time. I do not care. Jeez,
Well, I am doing
Koshi,
fantastic. Funky, how are you doing today?
I am doing simply splendid.
And Zion, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine.
And Gannon, eat my ass.
Fuck you. What have we been playing this week?
Cyberpunk
stuff.
Have you actually been playing it?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. How's the update?
Sorry. I got to the expansion yet.
Yeah, same. I played it over the weekend, and then yesterday I stopped playing that character and we made a new character to try it out from scratch. So, and I haven't played it before. So,
has much changed from? Because I know the update kind of like changed a few systems, like they added cops in or whatever, and they fixed a bunch of bugs, I imagine. But
probably,
like, has any of the original storylines and the way that plays out actually changed?
Minor things.
I think there's a few minor voice lines here and there that I've added in that I don't recognize. That could just be me not remembering because it's been a while since I played. But
I think there's just a couple of things where they recognize that area is now a thing in the game.
Yeah.
But nothing majorly.
Yeah, nothing major.
As far as I'm told, you know.
Yeah.
So as someone who has a save file right before the last mission, is there really any point in me going back through the game? Like, is that going to be like a fundamentally different thing, or is it just going to play out?
The consensus is that it's best to start anew, but I mean, you might as well just start New Game Plus then, I guess.
Yeah, it's probably best to start anew, but yeah, New Game Plus will probably do you, and you get a free respec point because the skills have all changed. You know, the tree.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that people were saying because of Phantom Liberty, it's not post game content; it's during game. Yeah, so people who like me have a save file right before the last mission are actually like they're the best places to kind of start the DLC on.
False.
You get that, you knock that out before completing the game.
False. From what I've been told by the developers, that the best thing to do is restart your game. Now, for those who are already at the end, like Gannon, I do not know how that's going to work out. If it's just easier to just go finish the game and restart it new, like Zion said, New Game Plus-ish. But from what they're recommending, and this is not from a, oh, well, it's going to bork your game point of view, but there's a lot of things in the vanilla game, the original game, that you can set up in the way of factions, of your level, your crafting stuff that you have, because the crafting has been completely changed.
Yeah.
So you might find yourself with a lot of things that you can't use when you go to Liberty City, and a lot of things that you need, and you're basically kind of starting over from scratch when you get to Liberty City.
Okay.
But if you start from the very beginning, when you eventually get to Liberty City, somewhere mid-game, you'll be ready to handle the content there. Yeah, right now you're going to have, the max level or whatever. You're going to have all the skill points you need, but that's really it. You're not going to have a lot of the stuff you're going to need to.
You lose all your equipment, don't you? That's right. You get your equipment's stored or something when you go there.
Yeah, something like that. So, yeah, it's doable. You can play the game, but the best thing to do is to restart your game.
All right, fair enough.
That's the consensus, at least.
So I'd probably be better off just finishing the game and doing a new game plus then in that case.
Yeah, I would. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah, if I were you, I would go and witness one of the endings, and then do new game plus, kind of start over, and then go for something different.
There is a new ending brought with it.
I did not know that.
Presumably, because the way the endings work, it's.
I know they changed them a bit, but I didn't know there was a new
I think they'll change some, but the way the endings work is you pick a faction to help, and then they turn up in the final cutscene because they're the ones who helped you in the last mission. So what I'm guessing is you can now pick whatever faction it is from Liberty City to come help instead of the 3 base ones, and that's why
that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's just basically a 4th faction to help.
I mean, even for me, and I haven't. This is the first time playing it. I've played it during the weekend, and just 2.0 into Liberty City changed a lot of things for me. Not system wise, but just like in the world. Just like after Phantom Liberty, there's suddenly a lot more cops. They're just like standing around doing just investigating a scene and all of that. That wasn't like even like Monday. That wasn't a thing. In my limited thing, I've seen a lot of changes to the world already. It feels a lot more lived in than before.
Cool. That's good.
The cop system's much better because
I mean,
not only did it used to just teleport in front of you and murder you.
Yeah, any system is an upgrade, really. Because
in one particular case that I found amusing, I accidentally ran over somebody, got a star, and as I did a handbrake turn around a corner and my car came to a stop, a cop got out of my passenger side door and shot me. I was like,
that's the most Matrix shit ever. It's like a fucking Agent Smith just spawned in.
Yeah,
they also react to if you're in a fight with like gang members or something like that. They start shooting you as well. Yep, it's a bit annoying where you kind of like, well, you could shoot the other ones as well, but it is what it is.
It seems to be if they're already in a firefight with the cops and you jump in, then they don't like that. But if you just go and start shooting up some fucking random gangers, then they don't know. Yeah, but I think it's more if they're already, that's the ones that have done it twice where they've shot me back, and it seems to be, if they're already in a firefight, they don't like you jumping in. Because they can't tell the difference between you and them.
It's in the favor of my build because I'm going net runner, so I'm just looking at the cops and the gangs fighting, and I'm just like, well, there goes your brain. Oh, let me poison your brain, and then that can spread its poison to other members of your gang. And just like, meanwhile, I'm not getting shot at or anything. I'm just like an innocent bystander.
And this is bystander menacingly staring at the action from across the street.
Menacingly staring with glowing red eyes.
We are talking about a dystopian future,
Yeah, it's not suspicious or anything. The guys across the street menacingly tapping his fingers together and going, yes.
The thing I told Koshi this before you guys were. There was one point where there were 2 gangs chasing each other in cars. And since I have the option, I just like slammed the brakes on one of them with my cybernetics, and then they just started fighting in the street, and it's just like just waiting around and then just walking over and looting their corpses and moving on. Thank you for the guns. That kind of stuff is pretty fun so far, But like I said, I started anew just for a bit more. I played over the weekend just to kind of get a feel for it, what I like, what I don't like, build wise.
So
And
the skill system and the way all that RPG elements are set up has totally changed, right? Like that's a
Yeah.
whole new thing.
I think you have
Has it like drastically altered combat?
Yeah.
Not
Sort of, yeah. The way skills used to work were usually just, hey, this has now got a percentage bonus to this damage
It's
or
like a
that
passive
damage,
thing.
or yeah. Whereas this one now, yeah, the tier 1, like one of the skills in Netrunner is, okay, tier 1, you do 10% more damage with your quick axe. Sounds good. Tier 2, you can now queue your quick axe. And it's like, okay, that's an entirely new
Ooh.
mechanic.
Yeah.
So like you can just like with that one, you just look at one person because normally you can just go upgrade. You like you could do, okay, I can hack him, and then I've got to wait for that one to finish before I can do another one.
Yeah.
With queuing, you can just go bang bang bang. Okay, next guy, bang bang bang, and then just
Okay,
hide
that's
behind the box
awesome.
while 3 of them just burn with various
or
quick
just or just I've done it where this low level shit, but just like I run up, I look at 3 people, I QA setting them on fire, overheat on one of them each, and then just look at them, they die, and then I just walk in and loot, and I've literally done nothing else for the most part.
Yeah, I
Which is
usually
kinda
use
fun.
short circuit just because it does like instant damage rather than the burn over time.
Yeah,
But also, like, I'm mildly upset that they fixed the anti-pacifist glitch, which was if you took someone out with a non-lethal, you still got the experience and like the rep experience. But then if you went up and then just shot them and executed them, you got the rep and experience again. Like, and it's been like that pretty much all the way up to 2.0, and then they've finally just taken it out. And I was like, oh, I like that. You could level up so quick by just taking out everyone non-lethal and going around just putting a bullet in everyone's head.
I mean, to be
Some
honest,
absolute psychopath.
I'm like level 11 or 12 or something, and I have 23 in street cred, and I haven't even gotten to the prologue yet. So I've been deliberately, like I was saying, Koshi, going out and finding stuff and everything, because I think I already spent like 250k on getting the recipes of being able to make all of the upgrades for cyberware and all of that. So
That's the one
the
thing.
first one is like 100k or about.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm a little iffy on is the crafting for the quick hacks. Whereas, yeah, you used to be able to get the blueprints and you could craft them, but like coming across the fucking things now seems so fucking hard. Like I've barely come across any quick.
I buy some of them, and I hack the if you do the hacking right with certain things, you get
Yeah, you can get
the
some,
last
but
one, you can get blueprints, and then if I have those blueprints double, I just delete those blueprints and use the other ones to kind of craft stuff. But I'm also like almost only green, so it's not like I'm that far into it.
Yeah.
But it seems, I mean, I don't know how it was before, so it's hard to say, but it seems fine enough. I like the upgrade system though. That is
yeah,
that is a good thing. We're in just like,
you
oh
could
well,
just
I like this gun, so I'll just upgrade it to the next tier.
Zion, let me ask you, since you've played the original vanilla version before 2.0, that's not even vanilla, but the original, do you like this version better?
so far, yeah.
Do you like the crafting, the combat, the new skills, the way they're handled, the cop system? Do you like that better than what they had originally, or would you rather have had them take the original and just fix it? Which they were doing for the most part.
Yeah. Most of it seems great. Like I said, there's just a few choices with like some of the skill trees, like what is in what skill tree. Like all of the to do your netrunner stuff, you need a lot of cyberware. But to do your netrunner is your intelligence stat. But to do all your cyberware is tech stat. And it's like, from one hand, I can kind of see it, but on the other hand, you'd probably want that in the intelligence stat as well, because you need intelligence to run the cyberware.
Yeah, some of the tech
And like
stuff is
smart,
in like
and smart
better
weapons
health.
maybe could have been in tech as well. So I think they should have had the trees the other way around, kind of thing. But by and large, yeah, it's fine.
I feel like when it comes to that sort of stuff, they should just do sub trees, like tech would be a part of intelligence, like underneath it, kind of thing.
Mm.
Like speaking from
Sort
just
of
like
like-
an RPG
It
perspective.
kind of makes sense lore wise for it to be different, because tech is also not necessarily related to cyber running. It's also just like, oh, I want to have better plates in my armor. Hello, Seth, by the way.
Hey, special guest Seth has
yeah,
joined us. Hey, Seth.
But you also have other stuff like, your nerves and all of that, and all the iconic stuff that is also tech. So it's kind of like yes and no.
Well, when I heard, before I start, Seth, how are you doing today?
Dude, I'm doing fantastic. Hope you guys are doing well as well.
Oh, thank you,
Awesome.
Uh,
Thank you.
I was under the impression, is the skill system set up anything like this? I was under the impression when I was reading up a little on what the developers were talking about, was that you would have, like, for example, you have intelligence, all right, which is your main stat. Under intelligence, you have anything that would be intelligent-ish type of skills, like hacking or inflicting demons on other NPCs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what you could do is you could either, okay, well, I'm gonna put, like, right now I'm 9 points in intelligence, so I can either put another point in intelligence, make it 10. So the existing skills that I've unlocked under intelligence, like hacking, for example, are stronger, or instead of putting that point in intelligence, I can go into the subcategory where, like, hacking and all those are, and unlock another skill. So you're either making the existing skill stronger, or you're spending a point to unlock a new skill.
It's your attributes and your skills are two different point systems.
Okay.
You get 1 point to spend on your attributes, which is your body, intelligence, tech, cool, and reflexes. And then inside those are where all your actual skill trees are, and you'll also get a point every level to spend within that tree, within those trees. And you don't have to link them. So if you put, okay, so this level I've put 1 level intelligence, I don't have to spend that other point, the skill point in there. I can then go, okay, I've upped my intelligence, but I'm going to buy a skill from the tech.
And you also have a neutral kind of stat increases, where, like, if you do a lot of net running and all of that, like, you get levels for that, and every now and then, like, it will improve, or you get more RAM, or like, if you do a lot of engineering, your health goes up, I believe, stuff like that, and every now and then you get a perk point from those as well.
Yeah.
So kind of, it's overall a good system. There are some things where I'm kind of like, yeah, I wish this would have been here or there, but that's always gonna be the case. It's like, oh, here's stealth, but then sniper is there as well, but you can't. I guess technically you can put not a silencer, but there's programs to kind of silence it, and there is a silence sniper in the game. But overall, it's like, oh, this is the stealth one, and then but one of the primary weapons is like a super loud weapon. It's kind of kind of thing where you're going, okay, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fun.
I don't know when I'll get around to actually playing the game, because it's one of those long single player games that just requires time.
Yeah, it's a time sink game.
Yeah. I remember when it first came out and I was playing it, I kind of just binged it for quite a while.
Yeah, I did as well.
Like even in its like kind of bare bones state, it was still a enjoyable game enough. So I'm kind of hyped
I love
for
the game.
Yeah, like I enjoyed it. I know that it had issues and it needed fixed, and I didn't play it right at launch. I waited until like the big patches were out, so that they'd fix most of the crap in it. But there was certainly lacking areas in that you would notice when you were playing through it. So I'm kind of hyped to play this 2.0 version and see how much they've actually improved.
Well, my issues for the game still exist, and the developers have acknowledged it, which is the fact that I feel what's stopping this game from becoming a game of the decade, not just year, but decade. And just for those out there who don't understand quite the difference, but they think they do, a game of the year is like, what came out and was best of the year. It's obvious, Game of the decade is one of those games who may not be the best, but it's the game you always go back to. Could be 2-3 years down the line, but you're always going to go back to it.
Yeah.
And those are your Skyrims, those are your Fallout 4s from Bethesda. More coming up on that later. Your Witcher, your what's that RPG one that's real popular that's been in early access since man discovered fire. It's got the really kind of RimWorld.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of those games. Did it finally officially release?
Oh yeah, it's even got DLC.
Okay, well anyway, it was in development since man discovered fire. Anyway,
that's not true. I think it came out faster than Star Citizen.
Star Citizen is never going to release.
Never.
Not officially. They're just going to say, okay, here it is, we're done, and it'd be like, okay, well, this is the same thing you had in 2013. What's new here? Oh, we're just calling it done. Anyway,
we're just calling it done.
Yeah, we're just calling it done. We give up. We're done. We've tapped all our investors. We're not getting any more money. We're done. These are the games of the decade, and I felt like Cyberpunk could have been that. But there's one major issue with the game, and this is something we touched on before when we had our Baldur's Gate 3 discussion, and why I chose other games over Baldur's Gate 3, which was, and I want to reiterate this, professionally and top tier, beautifully done. Yeah, it's got a few bugs here and there. I got screwed over on a couple bugs, but it's made by man, and man is always going to be fallible. I feel up to this date, Baldur's Gate 3 is probably one of the most well-done games, polished games ever done. That said, Baldur's Gate 3, I feel, has the same problem Cyberpunk does, and that is the lack of freedom. The developers came out and said that they didn't realize as they were crafting this game, Cyberpunk, that they were going to have it be so linear, because now, once again, just like Red Dead and just like Baldur's Gate, when I sit down to play this, I'm going to have to go through the goddamn brain dance thing with Judy again, which is another 20 minutes of my time that's going to feel like 3 hours.
You can skip it.
You can skip that.
Can you skip that now? Did they fix that?
Oh, you can skip the tutorial. You can't skip the actual, the heist part of it.
Ah!
But yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, you can
there are certain beats you have to repeat, and it is just a slog. Like, I want to be able to skip all the shit with Jackie. I love Jackie. He's a great character for as long as he's in the game, and I get why, for the narrative, why.
Spoilers. Wow.
Huh?
Shut up.
Technically, you can even say, "Oh, I want to start at Phantom Liberty," so you kind of
yes,
skip
you
all
can
of
do
the
that.
thing.
Yes, you can start at Phantom Liberty with a pre-made character. They recommend not doing that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that. I want my character. When you play these kind of games, you want to make the character that kind of represents a part of you. You want to role play. You want to get immersed. That's the big draw for these types of games. And what I mean by these types of games, I mean not just it's not just an open world game. It's a game where you're becoming this role. You're becoming the actor playing this role, just like Skyrim or Fallout 4. The narrative is set. The narrative, excuse me, is set before you. You are the mother or the father who lost their child while in cryostasis, i.e., Fallout 4. Or in Skyrim, you are the Dragonborn. You are playing this character, but it is up to you as the player to decide how you want that character to be. Do you want them to be evil? Do you want them to be good? Do you want them to be an asshole? Do you want them to be precious, like a snowflake? Or do you want them to be just a normal guy doing his thing and getting caught up in a world that he doesn't understand and now he has to come to grips with? Cyberpunk is the same way. Red Dead is the same way. Another great, fantastic game that does not get the praise that it deserves because it is a Western, which is a dying genre. Bullshit, because it's one of the best games ever made, single player, not multiplayer. I just want to point that out. But the point stands, like I'm gonna have to go through all these beats again to play this narrative. It's very linear. Yes, you have ultimately you have these different endings you can choose. You can choose who you want to romance in the game. But really, when you sit down and think about it, they're all kind of minor. At the end of the day, I'm still gonna have to do this. I'm still gonna have to do that, and I'm still gonna end up this way at the end of the game, no matter
It does
what I
stay
do.
fun. I think that is
So
one of the strengths of Baldur's Gate, where you can just like kill everything and still be able to finish it. Where I feel like this is one of those games where no matter how you answer, it circles back to, oh, but this needs to happen. So fuck you, whatever you say, we're going with this kind
well,
of thing. To a lesser extent.
Baldur's Gate gives you a little more freedom, but it's essentially the same problem because I'm still going to have to deal with the fight at the Grove. I'm still going to have to go to Moonrise
Yeah.
Towers no matter what happens. I'm still going to have to go to Baldur's Gate, obviously, at the end. And I'm still going to have to deal with the antagonists at some point. Whereas in other games, like, say, GTA, it's sort of the same thing. You're always going to have points that you're going to hit in each game because it's a pre-made story being told to you and you're interacting with it. It's never going to be 100% open world. But the difference is some, like Cyberpunk, are more closed off than others. Yeah, I can go around and I can do all the psychosis missions. I can go around and I can do the gang stuff. I have some freedom there. But at some point in the game, I'm going to have to stop and I'm going to have to go to Takamura, who's sitting in a diner for 15 days waiting for me to come talk to him. At some point, I'm going to have to do that or the game does not progress.
Why'd you leave him for that long, huh? That's rude.
Dude, I left him for like 3 weeks. He can go fuck himself.
So rude.
Same thing with what's her face at the end, Yoko Ono. At the end, she's waiting for me to come talk to her, and which is what initiates the end phase of the game and puts you on the path to the ending that you've started. And I left her for like, I don't know. She's waiting for me at some bar, and I left her for like, I don't know, 2 months or something, because I wanted to go do everything else first. But once I got through everything else first, boom, I have the world just stops, and it's just like, okay, well, Koshi, we're all waiting on you now to fucking do something. We can't do anything else. I'm gonna go to work tomorrow. And I'm gonna do the same thing I did today because we're all waiting on you to go talk to her.
Well, technically, there's dynamic events, but they're minor. Obviously, they're
Yeah, the story stops,
yes.
but there are
Yeah.
like shit that pops up as you go.
Like you can walk past the part, and it's like, oh hey, there's these people, there's this gang, and you're free to shoot them up here, and if you do it and you get a certain item from it, you'll get a reward from cops and all of that.
Yeah,
So,
like don't get me wrong. I'm not against narratives and
no,
storytelling
no.
games.
I know.
It's not just for you guys. It's also for the 300,000 listeners at home
Yeah,
that are
and
listening to
so
this podcast. But the thing is, like, it's a fine balance between telling a story and giving the character or the player, the player freedom. Telling a story and giving freedom.
But I think
And some games give a little more of this or give a little more of that. And I think Cyberpunk gives too much to the story.
I mean, it's hard for me to say, of course, but I think it's also just telling a true open world story without kind of like forcing you into certain things. It's just
Well, let me put it this
really
way.
fucking hard to do, because then you end up with Watchdog Legion and all of that stuff, where it's just like it doesn't
That is
really
true,
matter.
because it is a fine balancing act to do, and you got to sit down and think, okay, what do we want to tell as a story, and what do we want the character to do? What do we want the player to be able to do? Not character, excuse me.
I think.
But here, let me put this. Let me put this in one sentence. All right, then this explains this pretty much sums up my entire issue with this game. Who's the character that dies in the beginning? Jackie. Jackie is one of the best written characters and likable characters in video game history that I thought, anyway, personally for me. I thought he was a really cool character that I wanted to get no more of. That said, I can't wait for him to die, because that's when the game starts for me.
Yeah. But
that's a problem, because now I'm missing out on the best character, one of the best characters in video game history, because the game for me doesn't start until he dies.
Akoshi, and this is not really to this point, because I get the point
Hit
you're
me
making,
with
but
all that you got.
this is more towards your like, well, and then the game just kind of ends, or you're forced to do it. Let's say, because we were talking about it with Claire and the racing and all of that. Let's say there were stuff where you could just not necessarily like repeat, but at a certain stage you can just like you can go do activities again, or like with Rockstar games where you can go play a bit of golf, or you can go hunting in Red Dead and all of that. Let's say you could keep racing. There were like side activities for stuff like Yakuza, where you can go and play some video games in an arcade, or play with a race car and all of that. Like those kind of small things. Would you still feel like you're being forced, or does it, because then you have a more open world where you kind of can go do your own thing still? Or would you still feel like, oh no, I would be
No,
bottleneck towards the...
I would feel completely open, and here's why. Yakuza is the perfect example of that. Yakuza has so many side activities where you feel like you're dealing with the main story, but at the same time, you're also dealing with your own life and the stuff that you're doing. The perfect Cyberpunk for me would have been the game where I could go bang Claire, I can continue doing races with her, I can actually have a story with her. Okay, even if it's deep or if it's shallow, doesn't matter. But I can have something going with her. But at the same time, I can go and have the major romance with Pan Am or Judy on the side, which is actually the main focus, not the side. And what that does is that gives me a feeling of where I'm actually living in an open world, where people aren't waiting for me to just, initiate something so that they can go and restart or start the second phase of whatever it is they need to do.
It's like flipping a switch, like they're waiting for you to flip the next
So I
switch.
should be able to, basically what I want is a more living world. Okay, I killed 20 psychosis, super psychosis, characters in the game. Does that mean that there's no more, that this isn't an issue anymore? Does that mean that I stopped everything around the world, or in just the state I'm living in, or just the town I'm living in? No, obviously this is a widespread issue that's continuing to happen everywhere. It's in the very DNA of what Cyberpunk is, which is what they added in 2.0, right?
Sure.
Okay, so if that's the case, why is it after 20 of these guys that I've killed, does it just stop? That's my issue. Is what they need to stop doing is making everything so linear and making everything more. How do I put this? More. I don't want to say AI driven. I don't want to say AI driven because AI is the new buzzword of the last couple months or half a year. But it's more of like, okay, let me put it to you this way, and maybe you guys can
Procedurally
understand.
generated.
That works. That works. Let me put it this way and see if you guys understand better what I'm trying to say. I want to be able to enter Cyberpunk, live my life, bang who I want to bang, race cars against who I want to race cars against, go against super psychosis, whatever they're called, idiots, whatever. Go against them as much as possible. Make a difference in the world to where it actually shows me that my actions are taking place. And oh my God, look at this guy. He just stopped a murder at a wedding. Okay. And then at the same time,
No.
still have this one main thread of a narrative that's running through the whole game. And that purpose of that thread is to tell the main story. And that main story has a beginning and it has an end. But it not necessarily has an end for my character. Because like I said, Claire was one of the most popular characters in this game. Yeah. And she was transgender, but it didn't matter. Her sexuality, whether she has a penis or vagina, does not matter. It's her personality and the person that she is that people liked. And that's what's the most important. Okay, not what's in her pants, but what's in her heart and what's in her mind. Those
And
were the things.
And in her car.
Yeah, that. Her car sucks.
True.
But
all cars suck.
it really does. Like I had to use my own. Like every time I had to use hers, like I was like, bitch, let me use my own fucking car. All right. Anyway, my point is, she's a great character, and she has a kind of a small side quest that you can do with her. But once you complete it, she goes back to being just a bartender who has one or two lines to tell you, and then there's nothing after that.
See?
There's nothing like
Yoshi?
when I walk into the afterlife, it should be like, "Oh, Koshi, oh, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for that race you did the other day. Like, oh, do you want to go out and get something to eat, or like, can we be best friends? Can we go to the Sizzler or something?" No, it's
How you
Maybe
what can I get you?
Maybe that was just
How
her way
you-
of saying that she knows, she doesn't actually like you.
how you feel about Claire is how I felt about the assassin DLC character in Mass Effect 2. It's like she was my favorite companion. It's like, well, the DLC is done, so yeah, okay, now I won't talk to you anymore. Okay, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Now, like, it's like, oh, we're best friends. We're gonna go to the Sizzler and we're gonna hang out. And we're gonna go do mini golf on the weekends, and we're gonna be BFFs, and we're gonna do everything. And then it's like, no, this is like, I'm gonna go back to like, what can I get you? What kind
I
of
will
drink would
push
you
back
like?
on one thing though, and
Hit
it's
me, hit me,
it's
hit me.
it's not that you're wrong about it, but it's wrong for this game. People, apart from maybe if you go to the afterlife or something like that, people should not know that, oh, this character has done this because you are a runner, an edge runner, so you are doing illegal stuff and everything like that. So you don't want to be known as the person that is doing all of this shit and shooting that up, and you did that. If you are known for that, apart from like the people who also do it, like, then it's wrong. It's like, you don't want that
That is
because then you
true.
get hit
That
on.
is true.
But that is
But
just lore wise for this game.
true. That
But
is
I get the
true.
point
However,
you're making.
the thing is, like with that, what they could easily do to sidestep that, because I don't want my identity known, because I would be marked
Yeah.
everywhere I go.
Yeah, you hear
So,
somebody
like,
did
if
this.
there's a gang shootout in front of the chunks from Starfield, chunks, on Basin Street, well, that should be in the news feed that I hear. It shouldn't be, oh,
Yeah,
well, Koshi took out 9
Yeah,
people. No, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear there was a gang shootout and one of the most evilest gangs of our world that we're in has been taken out by one bystander, one witness, then okay, that's cool. It's cool when the game acknowledges what you do, and not necessarily because of a major story point, but because of
Wasn't
the things
there?
that you're just doing on the side.
Yeah, wasn't there a game, and I think it was a Bethesda game or something like that, where if you did certain things, like you had to do certain story quests, and if you, depending on how you did those, like word came out that somebody did those, and there was then somebody that started taking credit for it, and like you can meet the character and it starts bragging to you about stuff you've done, but it claims that he or she did it, depending
I
it's
know
like,
that happened in Doctor Who, which is coming out of nowhere. I know that
Yep.
happened in Doctor Who. That was actually one of the Christmas episodes, where a guy was, and Zion Gannon, you guys will know who I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It was the lead singer of Jump In at Any Time.
Don't know.
If I know.
The episode.
It was like the fourth season, I think. It was the next Doctor, I think it was called, and he met the guy. David Tennant met the guy that was running around calling himself the Doctor. It was during one of the Christmas episodes.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And he's got a sonic screwdriver, and it's just a normal screwdriver, and he just says, "How
Yeah,
exactly is
yeah.
it sonic?" And he just knocks it on the door. And goes, "It makes a sound," and he just looks at him like he's completely insane.
Oh, I gotta look that up now.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, like I understand that you can't do everything in a game. Like this game would be in development for 20 years. You can't sit there and think about what everything the player might do, because the player might do any and weird thing. I'm talking like shit that you wouldn't even consider. The problem is, not only is that player the problem, but you've got multiple players because you got a multiple audience,
I think
multiple people.
I will say, I think that is one of the things about Japanese games in particular, at least some of their franchises. I can't really think of one here, but they kind of just
David Morrissey.
you have they have they have like your Yakuza or your Monster Hunter or your Smash. It's always the same, but they just improve upon it, and they build upon it. Where I feel like with us here, it's either like it's gotta be bigger and better, and you gotta switch it up, or people will get bored and everything like that. Where it's like, imagine if like your Assassin's Creeds and your Call of Duties, they were just like, okay, we've done this really worked. Players really like this. Let's take this score and build upon it and see how we can improve upon it. Or like your Dark Souls and all of that, like improve the actual combat and all of those things. Versus here, it's just like, oh well, we did that. Time for something new. It's like, no, just build upon your foundation, and I don't think we do that enough here. Which is what makes Yakuza one of the best, well, the Yakuza games, one of the best open world games there is, even though it's like super tiny, but it's jam packed with nothing but content that has been built upon game after game after game after game. It also helps, of course, that you have are owned by Sega, so you can just import old Sega games and put them in an arcade. And here's a full game of racing for you from the 1980s, kind of stuff like that. But I think,
All right, let me pose a
yeah.
question to both Gannon and Zion, because we haven't heard from you guys in a while.
Huh?
So what Funky was talking about, for example, was Zion. Sorry, with Yakuza. I'm getting tongue tied here. I should not have had that second cocktail. An open world game, in its very definition, versus a corridor shooting game is, and this isn't for you guys. This is for all those at home who aren't versed on their game lore, if you will. All games pretty much have been always a corridor shooter. And that means a game where you go from A to B and there's no variation between. Open world is when they pretty much broke the boundaries of those hallways and basically allowed you to go from A to A.1 or A.4 to A.C before you got to B. All right. That said, you have Yakuza games, for example, that allow you to live the life as a Japanese hitman, if you will, in between the narratives that are being told. Now, that said, and I'm super stalling because I forgot what I was going to say,
Oh my god.
but
Fucking hell.
but my question is to you
How
two,
about them linear games?
to Ganon and to Zion,
We'll get there
you
eventually.
two, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Just
Spit
give me
it
a few
out
more.
already.
Just give me a
Yeah.
few more minutes, all right? Because I forgot what I was gonna say.
It
To
takes him
Ganon and Zion.
so
And you know what? Seth is
long
back too.
to say things.
Seth is back. Yeah. Seth is back too. So to Ganon, Seth, and Zion, I ask you guys.
This is number one bullshit.
Funky, what were we talking about again? I forgot.
So I
Oh
think
my
what question
God!
is, no,
What the hell?
yeah,
I had a
no, we were
point,
talking
but I
about
forgot it.
yeah,
This is a
open
shit
worlds
show.
versus open worlds versus linear.
I should
Yeah.
not have had that second cocktail.
I think for me the best combo is a bit of A and a bit of B. But
Okay,
I would,
so
for a story, I would prefer linear because it's a better way to
yes,
tell a
thank you.
fixed story. But for a more dynamic, like do what you want, open world is better.
Okay, so let me pose the question to Ganon and Zion and Seth while he's here, our special guest of the evening. You three, do you prefer a more narrative structure, just running through, going from hitting all the beats from A, B, C, D, all the way through to the end of the game? Or do you prefer an open world where not quite MMO or, and I want to say the closest this would be like Second Life, if anyone's played that, if anyone remembers that,
Oh, that's an old
or
game.
something similar. Do you prefer like a more open world, do what you want to do, MMO type esque game with a small narrative that you can just do it your progression?
It depends on what I want from the game. Like, I've enjoyed BG3, and as much as it's a big map, it is essentially a point A to point B. Everything goes to point B, no matter what you do. You get like one step sideways. That's it. But I thoroughly enjoyed Baldur's Gate 3. However, I'm probably not going to play it again for the next few years. Whereas Cyberpunk, I ignore the story mostly and go about my business in the open world. The two don't really mix for me. I either play a game for the story or I play because it's a sandbox. If the sandbox has a story in it, I usually don't interact with it. For example, I've been playing Elder Scrolls Oblivion on and off since day one, and I still have to this day have never finished the story of it. But I've done literally every other quest in the game. I've just not finished the story. Whereas something like I say, Baldur's Gate 3, I played that and went through the entire story in a couple of sittings. So it kind of just depends on why I'm playing the game, what is fun in that particular game for me. Baldur's Gate 3, story good. Mechanics, average, honestly. Maybe a bit above average. The story's really good. But like I said, because the story's good, I will remember the story, and the mechanics aren't amazing, so I'm just, once I uninstall that game, it's going to be uninstalled for years, if it ever gets installed again. Whereas something like Crusader Kings or an Elder Scrolls game, yeah, I'll play that for probably a week, uninstall it, and then about 3 months later, I'll reinstall it and play it for another week. It's entirely dependent on what I want at the time.
Fair enough.
Really.
Seth?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing for me is my old stupid brain. I like simple A to B when it comes to storyline. I thought that's the one thing that I didn't like, and I'm just going to use Diablo as a reference here because I'm most familiar with those Diablo 2, Diablo 3, and Diablo 4. When you play Diablo 2, even though it's still, open world to a point, the acts and the storyline are specific to zones, and you can only be in those zones by following the storyline. Same thing with Diablo 3. Diablo 4, although I think the story was better than Diablo 3, and I loved the story in Diablo 4, there was a chance to make it jumbled because you could skip from Act 1 to Act 3 and Act 2 to 3 or 3 to 1 or however you wanted to do it. It wasn't clear because they took the open world concept to it. To me, if you're trying to put a story in place, it needs to be done a certain way. So I like the point A to Z story straight up in front of you, very linear, if I'm going to play a game for the story. To Zion's point, if I'm not playing a game for the story, like Cyberpunk, I never had a chance to do it because I played it when it first came out, so I couldn't get too far into it because I kept losing my freeze. I am going to go back to it now, especially with the updates. But if the story's not there, like Grand Theft Auto 5, although I was into the story, I'm going to compare that to Cyberpunk. There's so many other things to do in the world, so it kind of takes away from the story, in my opinion. That's it.
All right.
Gannon?
I enjoy both types, but it depends on the genre of game. But if we're specifically talking about RPG games, if I'm looking to get fully immersed in a world, I'll want it to be an open world sandbox. Like if I want to pretend for a few hours that I am, ragtag, stuck in this dystopian future kind of thing, then yeah, I want Cyberpunk to be the open world that it is, because then I'm not just playing it for the story, I'm playing it for the immersive experience and the story that I create in it while being in that world. But I feel like for over the past few years, there was this huge push towards everything has to be open world. Absolutely everything. Doesn't matter what genre it is, it has to be open world. Racing games, for example, have to be open world now, and I hate that shit. And then even first-person shooters that are just, even if they have a strong narrative, and I'm going to use one of my favorite fucking franchises that was ruined by this, Halo. That is now an open world game, and it does not fit it in the slightest. If I could go back and punch the developers in the boardroom that came up with the decision of making Infinite a open world, I absolutely would, because Halo is a first person shooter, but it has a very the fans of the series are very much into the story of it, and I felt like the story lacked in Infinite because of the open world aspect. It wasn't the entire reason, but I feel like it was definitely an aspect of why it sucked. Because in all the previous games, it was an A to B to C, and it was a very linear corridor shooter, and they were able to do the story a lot more intense because everybody experienced it the same way, and there was no side stuff to get involved with. It was very much just in your face, this is what the story is. But I feel like something like Cyberpunk wouldn't really benefit from that. I wouldn't, yes, you could definitely tell a story in a Cyberpunk universe that just goes from A to B to C. And I'm not saying you couldn't make a good game out of it, but for what they were going with and what they want to get out of it, open world was best. The open world sandbox thing. So there's definitely strong points from both. And it all just depends on what kind of experience you want to give the player.
Which is us, yeah.
So if I'm just wanting to one shot something where I just want to get an immersive story in my face, I'll prefer a linear progression. But if I want to fully immerse myself and sit there for hours just doing random shit, then the sandbox is the game I'll go for. I wouldn't think to myself, oh, I'm in a story game kind of mood, and then jump into Cyberpunk, because I know that's
Which
not
is-
what it's delivering to me. It's going to give me stories, but I'm going to have to go around and find them or create them.
Yeah.
So
Which
I
is
have
what
to be in
makes
the
it
mood
fun.
for that. I have to be in the mood to know that I'm going to have to sink a bunch of time into achieving that, because it's an open world game. So I'm going to have to get and cover these things myself. But if I'm not in the mood for that, I'm gonna want a game that's providing a linear story. But like,
yeah, I mean, imagine if
both
Titanfall
definitely
2
have their
was like Cyberpunk.
yeah.
Like, I think that would totally take away from what
Hmm.
going down as one of the greatest story first-person shooters out there.
I think, yeah.
I mean,
I also
it-
think that's what games that manage to do both is what makes those games special, because it is so fucking hard. That's
Yeah,
why
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Witcher 3 for the most part is beloved, because it's open world-ish, but it's still linear. That's why the Yakuza games are so beloved, because you can
Feel
go beat people up in the streets, but if you want a story, you get an amazing fucking story if you just focus on the story.
what I feel like is the way to do both good at the same time is that the side stuff that you get involved in has to affect the main plot in some way, in a meaningful way. But obviously, from a
Or
technical standpoint, that is very difficult to
depends. I think it's a
do.
mix of both.
So it's best to just
it-
like focus one on the other.
I think you need to have side stuff that affects the main game, but you also need some stuff where you just want to go and do some goofy shit and either beat up or shoot up some people and all of that, and it
Sure,
doesn't
sure.
really matter, because it's just you're letting off some steam and you're having some fun and your brain off and have fun.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that the
Here's the thing. Here's the thing.
uh-huh.
It really comes down to a balance between giving player freedom and story.
Yeah.
GTA 5 is one of the most popular games that has been released time and time again. The reason why is because while it is a heavily narrative story being told from 3 different perspectives, there is also enough of the game in there to where you can decide to not go with the story. You can instead go and discover other minimal told and Zion, this is something you and I have talked about before. Explorative told stories through environmental aspects, if you will, of the game. You can go through, essentially what I'm saying is you can go through the game and you can play the story when you want to play the story, but the story is not waiting on you. The story is just doing its thing. You are able to go out and see all this other stuff and see that the world is alive, and then it's not just simply waiting for you to initiate the second or next encounter. Red Dead Development or Red Dead Development. Red Dead
That's
2
also
Red Dead
part
2
that
also did that, but it had a few beats in there where you had to go through certain things first, like the entire opening, which takes forever to complete before it
I think
starts
that's
opening up.
also for a large part. It's the quote unquote not sexy part. Having a good dynamic AI for that is also very important. So you can have like those moments that only happen to you because they aren't scripted, and you can have some crazy stuff happen to you while you're interacting with that world is
Yeah,
also incredibly important. Like with
yeah, that,
your Skyrim or something like that, you're I've had it happen to me where I was sneaking up to somebody in like an open place, and suddenly a dragon lands and just gives away my cover, and suddenly I have to fight a dragon while I was trying to sneak up to somebody. Stuff like that also
yeah.
Yeah, random
makes the world feel
encounters.
alive.
The
Yeah.
random encounters are definitely the strongest point for open world games.
Yeah, and I would include those under environmental, because when you're having your own, when you're able to give the player the freedom to make their own story alongside the story you're trying to tell the player, that's when an open world game is truly at its best. And GTA 5 is one of the few games, and RDR2 to some point, there's still those beats where you have to complete them. But to some point, RDR2 as well, you're able to do that, and it's a fine balance between one or the other. And when you look at games like Baldur's Gate or Cyberpunk, it's more of like a 70-30 or a 60-40 kind of deal that you're getting with those games.
I will say,
I think
Red Dead Redemption did it better than GTA. And I feel like partly that is because Red Dead takes itself a bit more serious.
yeah.
I would agree, except for the fact that there are certain story beats that you have to hit because they want your character that you're playing. See, the thing is with RDR2, and my problem with that is that you're playing a character. You're not playing yourself in that universe or in that world. You're playing a character who already exists. So you're gonna have to get tuberculosis. You're gonna have to come out of the mountains riding a.
Spoilers.
Well, that's the same in GTA 5, though.
Is it really? Is it really? Well, it is. But GTA 5, the difference there is that there's so much that happens in between those points that it almost feels like it's forgivable. RDR2, don't get me wrong, is the same way. But because of the fact that you have to hit those points regardless, I feel diminishes a little less. A little. Besides GTA, because GTA,
For me,
you can be what was that guy, Michael, one of the main characters, Michael. You can be Michael, and you can do. He's got his wife that's cheating on him. His son doesn't care about him. He's running around doing whatever he wants. Michael, that is. And you're able to explore this world, and you're able to live a life in Michael's shoe steps. But they give you enough freedom to where you can kind of control Michael the way you want to control him. In RDR2, it's the same thing, but it's a little more restrictive. And when I say a little more, I mean literally a little more. Just a little. Because you got to get tuberculosis. You have to have that ending fight with what's his fuck at the end on the mountaintop.
Micah.
You have to come down from the mountains in the beginning and spend 3 hours going through the prologue. You have to meet what's his face from Red Dead 1, or not meet him, but interact with him. There's too many situations where you have to do something before the world can evolve. Whereas in GTA 5, you're hitting the same story beats, but the world is evolving whether you care or not, whether you're interacting with it or not. And a game with Cyberpunk, and this is why this all comes back to Cyberpunk. My original point that I said like half hour ago, with Cyberpunk, the world does not evolve until you hit those points. Until I go to Takamura, who's sitting in the diner, waiting for me for like 5 days because I'm doing everything else because I don't want to meet him. I can do everything I can in the game, but the world will not progress until I go meet Takamura.
See, I feel like, obviously I haven't finished or even played it once, but I feel like just playing from 2.0 to Phantom Liberty, the world feels a lot more lived in and more dynamic. So I feel like I'm more part of the world than I even was like Saturday, and that helps a little bit. Obviously, you're still gonna have the story beats and everything like that, but I think that is mostly just making good characters as well. Because I think if you don't like the Red Dead 2 character, like, you can have as much side stuff as you want, but if you don't like the main character that you're playing, you're kind of just like, you're not gonna have fun with any of it. That's the reason why I never finished GTA 5, because I don't like any of the characters, and I know, quote unquote, you're not meant to like them because they're criminals, but I just don't like anything about them. to the point where I just don't want to
Understandable.
play. But to the point where I just don't want to play him. If give me access to that NPC over there, I'd rather play as that NPC than one of the main characters. So because of that, I didn't feel incentivized to continue with the story because I didn't give a shit about the main characters because they were all assholes, and I know they're assholes, but you gotta at least try to be a little bit invested in it, and if you can't get invested in it, like
I
all
feel
the
like
rest doesn't really matter.
I feel like Michael and Trevor are obviously shitty people. I feel like Franklin's he's not exactly a good guy, but he's the result of his environment. I feel like Franklin actually wasn't quite as bad as the other
I will
two.
say out of those, Franklin was the one I liked the most, but even that was not enough
It's
to
it's
keep me
difficult.
playing.
It's difficult to because obviously the story would have you think that Franklin is like as I say, he's just he's the product of his environment and his upbringing, whatever, and he's just an ambitious young guy trying to not be in the shit with the rest of his crappy friends. But it's a game where you can just run over someone and no one gives a fuck. So you can just it's hard to take that part of Franklin serious when you as the player can make him do horrific shit. Just as you would as the other characters.
That's one of my main problems with the newer GTAs to begin with. Like, it wants to have its cake and eat it too, because it's kind of like, oh yes, we're still goofy, but we're also super serious. It's like, well, pick a lane, because you want me to feel super invested in this super serious shit while I'm using a monster truck to ride over the highway. It's kind of like, pick a lane kind of thing for me, at least, to enjoy him.
Yeah. I wonder though,
Story
with
wise,
the reception that Red Dead Redemption 2 got, and with that being a way more serious game, I wonder if the next GTA will try and be a bit more serious. Maybe not to the same extent, but more serious than
then it
perhaps
wouldn't really be
GTA 5.
would it?
Well, it would. I mean, the GTA 3 was took itself a bit more serious. But didn't Vice City also kind of take itself serious?
Yeah, but Vice City was just pretty much just like, here, play Scarface.
Yeah, but
GTA didn't start. It didn't start getting satirical, satire, if you will, until about 4. And 4 was when it was satirical. Thank you.
No, 4 was most. That
4,
was the most serious one. 4 was probably the
4
most
had a
serious
lot of seriousness in it.
Yeah,
But it also had moments of levity to it. And I think 5, it took that levity and just really upgraded it, if you will. Like, I can't think of the characters' names, but Trevor for one, the disabled guy for the other. Like, they tried to take the seriousness and tone it down a little bit, and they raised the levity up a bit.
Yeah.
But 4 is where it kind of started. Because 3, while it was Scarface the game, it was kind of serious. I'm sorry, Vice City. 3 was kind of like their I guess you would say their prototype, if you will. But I think they're going more for like Sopranos or Goodfellas.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was also, let's be fair here though, that was also probably limitations to the hardware and the technology at the time.
But now they didn't do it wrong. It just didn't work for me.
Exactly. But GTA 5, when you're looking at that, it's like, okay, well, the hardware and the technology is at a point where we can tell the story we really want to tell. So you have to ask yourself, have they always wanted to be a little satirical?
Yes. Oh yeah, 100%. I mean the top down.
The original,
the original top down ones were very satirical.
Well, yeah, but were they doing that because they wanted to give it an arcade feel, so it didn't feel too adult, so they could sell the game, or is this who they really are?
I think
I think it's who they really
I think
are.
GTO. Yeah, I think GTA. The makers of it are definitely. They'll always have that satirical aspect to them, even
But
when
they're
you go
also
with.
older now.
But then, how do you explain RDR2 and one for
That's
that point?
that's a different. You want to flex a different muscle.
Yeah, like that's
Okay.
that's a time period piece. It's a
Okay, you want to flex a different muscle, but that still doesn't mean that you can't have anything, any type of satire in the game, or to give it some kind of levity.
It has its goofy moments.
I mean, RDR2. Well, really, okay. Out of what 90 hours of gameplay or 100 hours of gameplay, I can think of one moment in RDR2 that had a bit of levity.
There's an
And
entire
that was the bar
quest chain where you
scene.
there's an entire quest chain where you hunt down Sasquatch. Again.
That's not an RDR2.
Yes, it is. It's
No,
in
it's
both of
not.
them. The last you hunt them both down. Because you hunt them
No.
down in one, and you hunt down the last one in RDR. Because at the end of the quest, he's depressed because he's the last one.
That's not an RDR2.
I think it is.
No, RDR2 was straightforward, nonstop Western, dramatic style. And there's only one scene in an entire game that had any levity to it, is when your character got drunk and you were running around the bar looking for your
some
friend.
of the best shit. That was great.
Yeah.
Lenny!
Yeah, but that's it. There is no Bigfoot in RDR2
Lenny!
or anything that leads to that. Lenny!
Yeah, that's the first one.
So good.
There is
I think it's also because
the time travel guy, which I wouldn't say that's a very serious quest line.
What's that?
The time travel guy, who's the dude literally.
That is true. That's a good point.
Though I will give you that's not your typical quest, as that's more of the quest line for it's the fucking cave drawings, I think, in it that you have to collect for him.
Yeah,
so it's more
but
of a
also
reward, but yeah,
that's also part of the environmental storytelling too, because that's not an actual quest.
Yeah,
he's supposed to be like, isn't he supposed to be Satan or something?
It's
and he's just going through the years.
From the mural, it just looks like he's a time traveler. Like he's going through, and then he just happened to get his machine, something like his machine broke or something this time, and the cave paintings act as like some sort of coordinates or a reference point for him to use, and that's why.
Yeah, it's the
It's Michael J. Fox from Back to the Future, guys.
God damn it, I knew it.
I thought it was literally just like a Time Machine, the book / movies.
No, he's called the Strange Man, and he's
pretty strange.
Supposedly he showed up in GTA 5 as well, but he's like kind of going through the years immortal. But there has been some. Well, of course it's unofficial because Rockstar's never going to talk about it. But again, that goes to the environmental storytelling.
It's an Easter egg kind of thing.
Yeah. But he's kind of like Satan or the devil, and he's just witnessing humanity as it goes through the time periods. And it's up to you to play. Or there's like nothing that points you to the cabin where he's born or where he lives. There's nothing that points you to that. It's just you have to find it on your own. Again, environmental storytelling.
Yeah,
you have to explore and get involved in the world.
That is genuinely my favorite stuff about games like that. Is the stuff that's never truly explained, but it's like an anomaly that you just kind of like you come across, and everybody's got their little theories and stuff like that. It's great. It creates discussion around your game. I think it's the coolest stuff that gaming can get to. Like it's like it's similar to movies where like the director will put or whoever wrote the story will like have a little details that aren't fully explained, and that's what creates the discussion. That's what it reminds me of.
Like the end of Inception,
and I love it when
right?
games do that stuff.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Make up your own mind or fill in the blanks however you want.
I love that stuff because it allows
like that,
it allows people to have discussion, allows you to have a bit of creativity and think of your like your own your own theories on stuff like that. I love that sort of stuff.
There's a movie. I don't remember the movie, but the movie ends open ended, and people keep asking the director, because he was also the writer, like what he thinks the true ending is, and he just keeps saying, "Well, the true ending is the one you think of in your head." He's like, I kept it open ended because I wanted people to imagine how they are. I think it's one of those things where, and they stay together forever, or because of the situation that they were in, their relationship breaks and all of that. He's just like, whatever you feel comfortable about with your head. Sometimes I feel like, they stay together, and then maybe like a month later I feel like, oh no, they would have probably split up. But he deliberately made it open ended so you could fill in the blanks. And he's like, there's no right or wrong. It's just, I thought this was a good point to end it, and leave the rest to your imagination.
Yeah, the guy who did Last Recall did the same thing, like both the book and the good film. Just leave it open ended as to, did this all happen, or is it all just side effect of his brain melting? And he's been asked in interviews of like, do you have an answer? Like, even if you're not going to tell us what the answer, did you write the book thinking, oh, it's this? And he went, no. He specifically never answered the question himself, so that every clue that he put in the book
it's the same with the
either way, because then he wouldn't be like, subconsciously leaning towards the actual answer, which is why
the Pulp Fiction briefcase.
Yeah. It's just a giant glowing fucking briefcase. What's in it? Fucking.
What do you think is in it? All right, cool.
I hate that shit, and that pisses me off when they do that in games or movies. Just put it out there. That is such a cop out. Like, what do you think it is? No, you tell me. You're the goddamn writer. You're the one telling the story.
It's the golden rule.
You tell me what it is.
It's genius, though.
It's the golden rule.
No, it's not genius. It's a fucking hack writer. It is a cop out. It is. I'm gonna build the greatest thing ever, and then I'm gonna tell you what I want you to tell me what it is. No. That's not how it works. You tell me what it is. You're the writer. You're the one telling the story. You tell me what it is. I'm curious. I want to know what you came up with.
It is the golden rule of show, don't tell.
No, it is the golden rule of kiss my ass.
You're a
That's what it
moron.
Is. It is. I came up with the best idea, but I don't know how to tell the player or the character or the audience or the whatever.
I think what we've learned
what
here
I'm
is that
trying to tell
Koshi
them.
just doesn't
So
like to
I
think.
want them to fill in the blanks for me.
He doesn't
That's
like
what
to
it
think.
is.
It hurts his little head. All right, we've got to.
No. This is not. It hurts my little head. This is. I sit down to have a story told to me, and you're gonna sit there and give me all these blanks, and I gotta fill it in for myself. Excuse me. I'm not the one getting paid to write your story. All right. You tell me the story. You fucking tell me what the blanks are. All right. That's what it comes down to. Pulp Fiction can kiss my ass with that briefcase.
Well, I was gonna say, we're talking about it still 20 years later. I mean, the movie came out in '94.
What's in the box? What's in the box? That's organic money. But the thing is, and there's a lot of ways to do it wrong. Same with open worlds. Tie it back together. But there's a lot of ways to do it wrong. But the thing is, you gotta have enough story and things in there so you can kind of feel where it's going and everything like that. But if you build the world well enough and you did your characters that you leave satisfied, even though, and it's not nearly you don't know the ending, it's just you know the ending, you just don't know the answer, just isn't resolved. There's a difference between not having an ending and not having the all of the answers.
Well, not having all the answers is one thing, but really what it comes down to is closure.
Can I get a cheap? Can I put in a cheap thing in your Koshi, which is
go ahead. This is a pet peeve of mine, and I will talk for like 50 minutes.
Please
so
do
change the subject.
Because Koshi is
change the subject.
Because Koshi is the American, and Americans want the happy endings.
Yeah, I was just thinking, does not knowing what's in the briefcase count as a bad ending?
It does.
No, it doesn't.
It does,
but it's
it?
like, okay, but look at it this way. All right, look at it this way. All right. We give J.J. Abrams a lot of shit for coming up with all those mystery boxes that he does so well. Like Lost, for example. Season 1. He came up with the idea of the smoke monster. He came up with the idea of the mystery man who turned out to be Jack's father as a ghost. He came up with the man in black. He came up with Jacob. He came up with all those stuff, but he gave no explanation or anything that explains. No, hold on. He came up with all those stuff, but he came up with no explanation of what the smoke monster is, or what I just mentioned a moment ago. And he left it on one other writer, Damon Lindelof, to figure it all out on his own. To me, when I look at people and who give J.J. Abrams shit for that, which he does well, they gave him so much shit for that. But when I see other writers put that in their stories, let me tell you a story, and then at the end, I'm going to leave it super ambiguous so you can come up with your own ending. No, what that is that's fucking lazy. All right?
Well,
I sat down. I bought a ticket,
Lazy, he says.
$15 to sit down in the theater to watch your story. And I want you to tell me a story, Mr. Storyteller, and you're gonna fucking
Or
leave it
Mrs.
off at the
Storyteller.
end.
I mean,
And you're gonna leave it off at the end and make me come up with the ending?
Koshi,
Fuck
Koshi,
you.
Koshi.
You're not smart. You are
Fucking
a
hell.
piece of shit.
Koshi, here's the thing with J.J. Abrams. Like you said, he did all of that stuff,
No,
and
he
he
didn't.
never explains anything. Versus, what's in the box is the one thing that isn't answered. What's in the
What's-
briefcase is the one thing that isn't answered.
I
That's
feel like
one thing.
Look,
It doesn't matter if it's
I'll
one or if
even-
it's
hang on.
50, though.
Listen,
Hold on,
listen,
I
listen,
think
The whole
listen.
purpose of
Just a
that
second.
briefcase was why the characters were there in the first place, and why 3 people lost their
It wasn't
lives
about
in
the
the first
end.
place.
It wasn't about that. It was about
It
how you
doesn't
got
matter
there.
if it's the overall narrative.
Oh my
The point
God.
is, those characters were there in that room for a purpose.
I
and
hope
that
we never
purpose
find out.
cost
Fuck
3
you.
people their lives. It's not unmanageable that I might sit there and go, what could possibly be in that suitcase? Oh, well, guess what? You get to figure that out for yourself, because you can eat my ass. I am Mr. Writer, and everything I come up with is super perfect. No.
I hope when Quentin Tarantino's on his deathbed,
Quentin Tarantino
I
did
hope-
end World War II.
I hope that when he's on his deathbed, Koshi gets to go up to him and he gets to ask him one question. And I hope when Koshi goes, "What was in the box?"
No.
I hope that Quentin Tarantino goes, "Figure it out yourself," and then he
You're
dies.
playing this all wrong. You're playing
And
this
then I
all
give
wrong.
him like
J.J.
5
Abrams.
Jack
Here's-
Reacher punches to the face
Here's
with
what,
my elbow.
Here's what Quentin Tarantino needs to do. He needs to make that Star Trek movie he wants to make. They need to give him and then he needs to end it with an open ending and never talk about it. And nobody else can answer it because
100%.
that's how I tell it, and we're gonna leave it blank and never answer it.
Knowing
And then
how
Koshi's
much it
just gonna
pisses
go.
Koshi off makes me want more open-ended movies.
Look, I guess I come from a different.
Along Down Under.
No, but there's 1,000 ways to do it wrong. There's a reason why we keep going to the same couple of movies instead of the other ones that we've like, whatever, forget it.
It's a big pet peeve of mine, because when I sit down to be told a story, I love stories. All right, I love movies.
You
I love
hate
TV
mysteries.
shows.
That's what they ask. The fucking the
I
problem
love
is.
mysteries.
No, you don't. Clearly, because the
But
box
he
is a
loves
fucking
mysteries
mystery.
if they get
No,
solved.
But I want the mystery, yes, as Funky said, eventually to get solved. But when I'm sitting down to watch a movie, and I'm paying money, whether it's through streaming from Netflix or I paid a ticket in a theater, if I sit down to watch a movie and you are going to tell me a story and I paid money for that, tell me the fucking story. Don't make me fill in blanks. All right?
Okay, but
Because
You know
you're
what?
not
Koshi,
genius.
never make a
You're
movie.
not- you're-
Just never make a movie. All right.
No, if I made a movie, it would be good as The Gentleman, okay?
Fuck off with it.
I would love to see Koshi write a British script.
I could do it easy. Everyone would be posh.
Yeah. Hello.
But he-
Yeah,
but he would-
everybody
Hello,
just says-
hello, governor.
Everybody would be posh, but he would specifically hire American actors who can't do an English accent.
Exactly.
Just
And that is that's what we call in the industry charm.
Everybody will think it's like a satirical piece. Of course, you will not. Of course, you'll like. He'll die telling people that it's a totally serious piece.
I was serious, guys. I was serious.
Goshi's movie would be The Darkness, aka the band, where everybody thought they were joking, and I said, no, we're not joking.
Zion, Seth, what do you guys think? Do you think I'm being? It's a pet peeve of mine, but do you think I'm just being oversensitive about it, or do you think I have some merit in what I'm saying?
I think you're being a bit hard on J.J. Abrams here. Like, he only wrote 2 episodes of Lost, all right? He didn't really
he did come up with the concept.
No, he didn't. The other guy came up with it, and he needed J.J. Abrams as weight because the other guy had, nothing to his name really. So he wanted J.J. Abrams on board as a, hey, look, I've got a famous guy that's really good at story writing to help me. And then the network went, yeah, right.
Well. That's actually partially wrong. J.J. Abrams sold the idea to ABC here in America anyway. I don't know about you guys there. In America here, he sold the idea to ABC and said, I have an idea and I have a 2-hour story to tell you. And these are all the things you're going to witness in that 2 hours. And then after those 2 hours, he's like, I'm out. Later. Have a good day.
Okay.
And he explained not a damn thing.
No, sorry. Seth has to go still. So sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's neither here nor there. But go ahead, Zion, Seth. What do you guys think? Am I being too harsh, or do I have some merit in what I'm saying?
I think you're being way too harsh, in my opinion.
All right, Seth, you're out. Get the fuck out. Zion, go
ahead. I just flat out think, I mean, there's lots of reasons to do what they do. I mean, the briefcase doesn't really fall into this philosophy that I'm about to say, but I think a lot of times directors and writers will leave stuff open-ended, not just for, brilliance in making people talk about the movie from years and years down the road, but because maybe sometime down the road they want to do a second one. And it's so much easier to do a second Inception with not knowing if he's actually still in a dream or not. Same thing with Shutter Island. Was he actually insane or was he not? I mean, and a movie number 2 would clarify it. And if it never happens, they still look smart because their movie is still getting talked about, makes people go back and rewatch it to form their own opinion over and over and over again. People catch the little hints on the suitcase, right? People don't forget that the reason why they say that's Marcellus's soul in there is because he sold his soul to the devil to get to where he was at. The briefcase's password is 666. So I mean, it's just all kinds of hints and stuff that leave
That's
it
a pretty
open
cool
to
theory.
the audience to figure it out.
Gannon, don't fucking help him.
I like that theory. I think that's pretty cool.
No, Gannon, shut the fuck up. Don't encourage him.
Why?
It's
I'm
just-
the only one on your side, motherfucker. I'm on your side.
Just to wind up kosher, the other part of that is, like Marcellus Wallace has got the plaster on the back of his neck.
Yeah.
In Chinese mythology, if you can take someone's soul by pinching the back of their neck.
Oh, that's cool. I like. See that little
when
details like that. Fucking awesome.
When he was writing, and not only that, but when the dude was writing the script, he was in Asia for part of the time he was writing, and people are saying, yeah, he probably just picked something he heard while he was traveling around, and went, that's a cool idea. I'm going to add it in, or I'm going to add it in as a potential, Easter egg or mystery for people to solve.
I like it.
So what I'm hearing is everyone disagrees with me.
Yes,
I think you have a point.
I think it depends. You've got half a point I'd give you.
Yeah. But I think
half a point.
A good. That's why I'm saying.
I'll take it.
That's what I'm saying. There's good ways and there's a few good ways to do it and a lot of bad ways. Because I think a good open ending doesn't detract from the movie.
Yeah.
Like in the end, it doesn't really matter because the story has been told.
All right, like I said, calm down.
It didn't get the bow tie on it per se, but like at the end of the day, what's in the briefcase doesn't matter. What's in the box doesn't matter. With Shutter Island, it doesn't really matter. You went through the experience. The story has been told, and
speaking of, all right, since we're talking about Shutter Island for a second, I was under the impression that there wasn't really theories about the ending of that. I thought it was pretty much straightforward.
As far as I understand, there really isn't. It's not entirely openly explained to the audience, but if you sit down and
There's
really
theories
watch
about
it.
it.
It's pretty
Yeah.
clear case what happens in Shutter
I
Island.
mean, I was
He
under the
is
impression,
insane.
yeah, like I was under the impression that he's still insane at the end, but he understands it. So he
But
figured it out eventually, basically. But he
Also,
then he lost
Koshi,
it again.
but no, but
Koshi?
his choice was that the whole like I'm gonna
He's just gonna keep
intentionally-
living in the world.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
intentionally keep pretending I'm insane, like even though I know it now, because that is the easier option.
But the
I thought-
other example that Seth gave, and I'll let you go in a second, Funky, is Inception, where it leaves it really open-ended. It didn't take until what was it? When did that game? When did that movie come out? I don't know, but it's been
2007 or
at least a
something like that.
decade. It's been at least a
No.
decade. Yeah. Oh yeah. That came out what? 2008, 2009,
I
2010,
think it's early
2010.
2010-ish.
2010. Okay, so
There
it's
we
been
go.
over a
That
decade.
is early 2010-ish.
Okay, so it's been over a decade.
Yeah.
So it took what's his face? Tenet. No, that's the
Yeah,
doctor.
David
Wait,
David
uh,
Tennant to
Nolan,
talk to
thank you.
Christopher Nolan.
Nolan came out 2 months ago and said
I'm gay.
that people till this day still ask him, is DiCaprio in a dream world or is he in his real world at the end?
Yes.
And he said
It's love. It's about love.
that he told. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't him. It was
He said specifically, Koshi, figure it out yourself.
no, it was what's his face? Michael Caine. Michael Caine said.
So you got to say Michael Caine with the accent.
Michael
Michael
Caine.
Caine.
Okay, never mind.
That was a mistake. That was a mistake, and we knew going into it.
Michael Caine came out and said
I didn't expect it to be that bad.
that when he read the script, he didn't understand it. So Nolan said to him, every scene that
Figure
you're
it out,
in,
Koshi.
every scene that you're in is in the real world. So if you go back and watch the movie at the very end, Michael Caine ushers DiCaprio in. DiCaprio sees his children and outside playing, and his top keeps spinning, and then he goes out to he goes out to hug his children, and it ends with his top spinning. And it looks like, it might not look like, it's hard to tell. People have theories that it's about to tip over.
Well, the biggest theory I think in that is he says that in his dream he can never see his kids' faces.
Yeah, I've heard that same thing. He can never see
and
his
the
kids'
kids
faces.
never turn around. at
They
the end of the
never turn
movie.
around at the end. However,
Mhm.
Nolan told Michael Caine, if you're in the
But
scene,
did he lie to Michael?
Yeah.
Could
Just
have
trying to
been.
make it easy for Michael Caine to understand. He's old.
Exactly.
Give him a break.
But he told Michael Caine, if you're in the scene, it takes place in the real world. And Michael Caine,
Michael
Michael
Caine, yeah.
Caine,
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine, not yours, is in that scene. But it took him like over 10 years to finally explain that. So you have to think to yourself, as a director, you tell a story, and then for the next 10, 15, 20 years, every time you sit down for an interview, you want to talk about your latest project. You want to talk about the latest movie you're doing. Nope. We're going to go back to talk about something you did 15 years ago because you couldn't fucking explain it correctly the first time.
Because
what
it
you were trying to
resonated
tell.
with people then.
No, it didn't resonate with people. All they did was sit down and come up with theories, and that's cool.
If they
that's
still
cool.
care after 15
That's
years,
cool.
it resonated.
They sit down. They sit down.
Maybe they didn't
and
want
they
to
go on
back.
forums, and they go on forums, and they're sitting there thinking like, okay, did this happen? Well, I saw. If you look at time code 210 and 15 seconds, you'll see the kid's chin from the side at a 45-degree angle. You'll be able to tell.
Exactly what you liked about the Matrix when it came out? That people were searching for all the little clues and everything like that?
No.
So
to me, that's just bonus. Like if you want to read into that, that's fine. But Matrix had a story that was told from beginning to end, specifically
did they really die? Well, now we kind of know, but before the last movie, it was open ended whether they died or not.
Not really. No, it was what it was that it's just that everything loops, everything repeats. Keanu Reeves died But
For
at
our
some point,
sins.
he's going to be born again, or another version of him is going to be born again. That's
Okay.
different. It's when you don't get closure. When you don't get closure, that's when I
But
get my ruffles in a ruffle, if you
All
will.
right.
So I was going to
Ruffle
say
and a
this,
ruffle.
just as on this topic, and it's my last point unless somebody else has a question for me, but this is probably going to set Koshi off as well. I think about 75 to 80% of movies fall into category where they leave it open. The only thing that's not open is rom-coms and Disney movies. But any
So-
other
Which is
movie out there,
90%
Alien.
of it.
anything out there, typically
Alien.
what about Alien?
It's not a
they left
rom-com
it.
or Disney movie. It's
They didn't give
it's
you.
not
They didn't give you
open-ended.
an end. Yeah, they
It
did.
did. Yes, it did.
The very
I'd
last
say-
scene at the end of the
I'd
movie
say
is an egg.
What?
Definitely
There's no
rom-com.
egg in the end of the movie.
Yes, there
Definitely
is.
wrong.
No, there isn't.
Yes, there is.
100%.
That's why they
Where's
came out
there
with
an egg?
Aliens. That's why they came out with Aliens.
No, Aliens was done by a different director who changed the lore of the series.
But
There was no egg.
Alien ends open-ended.
No, it
Alien
doesn't.
ends open-ended.
The narrative they're telling is that the alien is going to kill everybody on the crew,
And there is a face hugger on the ship.
no, it's not. It's dead. There's only one face
Or is
hugger
it?
on the ship, and it's dead.
Is it?
Yes.
What is it though?
In
that's lore.
Koshi's
Because
No,
he
it's
just
not
made
in
up the ending.
Koshi's.
He's
This
settled
is
on
in
it.
Ridley Scott's version. Once the face hugger does its thing, it removes itself from the human host or the host, as we learned in 3. It didn't have to be a human. It removes itself from the host and it goes off to die. They found the dead face hugger in the movie. Has anyone
Okay.
here seen the movie besides me?
Yes, multiple
I've seen the movie.
times.
I don't think so.
Okay,
Because no one
Koshi,
but me is saying the facts
does
of the
this
film
also
that they
mean
clearly show you.
does
Maybe-
this also
maybe-
mean you
maybe-
hate one of the best horror movies ever made, The Thing?
Maybe Koshi just remembers the American version with the happy ending.
Yeah, that's what it was.
No,
That's what it
but
was.
Koshi,
Seth, do you
two
hear
things.
this shit? Do you hear
Two
this shit,
things.
Seth?
Two things. I no
You're
longer
American too. Come on,
Yeah.
get in here.
He desperately asks,
no lo-
searching for
I
an
no
ally.
longer I no longer recommend The Lighthouse to you. I
I
take
don't
that
mind.
back.
Look, it's not so. There's a difference between being completely open-ended and
Yes,
having.
that's exactly the
No,
point
hold
we're
on.
making.
Let me explain. Hold on. Let me explain. There's a difference between being completely open-ended and having the story that they're trying to tell you give you closure. Halloween is a good example of that. All right. At the end, Michael Myers comes back. He's doing his slashing all the way through the film. He goes after what's her face, and the doctor gets in, saves her. End of story. Now, yeah, he gets away. At the very end, he looks over the balcony, he sees Michael Myers is no longer there, and cue the beautiful music that kicks in. All right, that's open-ended. Michael Myers got away. But that particular story was told. That's fine.
Exactly.
Yes,
the
that's
rest is
fine.
not-
But when you have characters, back to Pulp Fiction, when you have characters that are in a room for a reason to retrieve stolen something, and that something is so spectacular that it
See-
makes the character looking at it take pause.
I think
You have to wonder yourself, what could be in there that A, glows, and B, could be so spectacular that it would take a hitman, John Travolta in this
Yes.
case, to look at the briefcase and go, whoa. You know, in his mind. He didn't say it physically, but in his mind go, whoa. What could that possibly be? What could it possibly be that caused them to go there in the first place? That continues that narrative. There's a difference there.
so. What you're saying
Yeah.
is if the briefcase was never in the movie would have just completely been shit.
Yeah, it would have been completely shit. Just,
See-
wrap it up, get it out of there. No, but no, of course not. Obviously not.
Because
But when you're telling a story, there's a reason. You're telling a reason for them to be there in the first place. If it was just a stack of cash, or maybe it was his wife's ring, or just his favorite pair of shoes,
Big fucking
It
ring
doesn't
for a
matter.
suitcase.
there's a reason that's being told to the audience of why they're there in the first place.
here's the thing. All of these movies, what are they at its core? The ones that you quote unquote hate, but they're character studies. So it's not necessarily about the overall plot. It's about the character arcs and the story being told with the characters. So the overall plot isn't as important as the mini plots contained within that movie with the characters, because especially Quentin Tarantino, he's all about characters. So I think you're in those things, you're paying way too much attention on the stuff that isn't really meant to be paid too much attention to, because it is about the character arcs more versus what's going on in the entire world.
You say that, but to
I
this
do.
day, people are still speculating on what's in that suitcase.
Yeah.
So it's not just me.
No, it is.
Yeah, but
No,
I mean, you're right. It's not just you. You're just the only person who's getting fucking pissed off about it.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, it was a pet peeve of mine.
But so, second question, and this is the one, because this is where I'm kind of baffled. You hate open endings, but you love Black Mirror, which is almost every ending is kind of an open ending.
Funky. All right, I'm gonna give you some advice. Don't try to apply logic to the bullshit that comes out of Koshi's mouth. It is not going to end well.
Hold on. Okay, hold on. Let me tell you this, and if this doesn't explain it, I don't know what will.
Okay.
You have Star Wars Episode 4, Episode 5, Episode 6. No prequels, no sequels. All right, you have Episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Just the OGs, okay.
Yeah, just the OGs.
The good ones, yeah.
In each individual episode, there is a story being told.
Yeah.
All right. In Episode 4, it was taking out the Death Star. Episode 5, it was going to save his friends. Episode 6, it was pretty much, last-ditch effort, stop all the bad stuff happening.
And furries.
And episode 4, Episode 5, Episode 6 had each individual story being told. However, clouding over all of that was the overall story of Rebels.
Merchandising. Oh, yeah.
Well, that too. Was Rebels versus Empire.
Yeah.
All right. So when you do a story, like I said, Halloween, the overarching story in that movie being told is Michael Myers being stopped. All right. Now, yeah, pretty much, because he escaped from his asylum. He's going off on a slasher spree.
I think the first one is more, in my opinion, and there's no right or wrong, but for me, the first one, because this is the one that kind of started the slasher thing, and then it became that thing. But for me, the first one is trying to survive a night of horror.
Okay, yeah, that's another way of looking at it. That is true too. And in fact, I think that's worded differently. I think that's one of the taglines of the original trailer.
Yeah. That's why they didn't want blood or something like that. They just wanted the surviving horror on the scariest night of the year.
But see, that goes towards my point, is the story with Strode being told is that she's got to survive that night. All right,
but it's also a character. But it's also a character study, because she's got to survive the night and go through that trauma.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That is the story being told, is that her going through surviving that night. All right, just like Luke learning who he is, who his lineage is in Episode 4, and overcoming his past to be able to put himself out on the path to becoming the hero of the old versus good versus evil. All right. That's what Episode 4 is about. Here, it's the same thing. Laurie trying to get through the night of horror, but the overarching story being told is Michael Myers himself. So that's why it's okay for Michael Myers to get away at the end, because his story is not done being told. But Laurie's is. Same thing with episode 4. Luke's story is him stepping out of his shell, becoming the hero that the universe or galaxy needs, being good versus evil, and going against the oppressive force that's trying to keep him down.
Can I turn this
That's
around on
why
you?
I'm saying, like, there's like that's why I'm saying, like, yeah, there's an overarching story that covers the entire franchise, but the particular specific story being told in that one movie is why I'm okay with it having an open ending.
See, Koshi, thank you for making my point for
Oh
me.
boy, here we go.
Because wouldn't you say that? Let's go to Pulp Fiction, since that's the one we're kind of going back to. Wouldn't you say all the character arcs were finished?
What?
Because he's like,
Yes.
oh well, Luke and all of that story is wrapped up. Yeah, the characters from Pulp Fiction, their story is also wrapped up. It's just it leaves with an open ending of what is in the briefcase, but the briefcase doesn't affect the endings of the characters.
Yeah, it does. And I would agree with you 100% on that. The problem with the briefcase, though, is
Is that
that
it's
it's
shiny?
something. The problem with the briefcase, though, is that it's something that was thrown into the movie purposely to create interest in the moviegoer or the audience or the fan or the person observing the story. The purpose of the briefcase was to create interest.
Mhm.
Now, it doesn't have anything to do with the character development. It doesn't have anything to do with the actual overall arcing story, but it does have a little to do with the story because it's what put them, Julius and what's his face, in that apartment in the first place. And when you create that sense of interest, I feel like it's like having sex and then having the girl jump off and say, "No, we're done," before you can orgasm.
See, for me, the character studies and everything, that's the sex part.
Well, see, for me, it's everything. I like the background. I like the music. I like the character. I like the story. I like everything. And it's like when you purposely put something in there to get my interest going, and then not explain to me why it's there or what its purpose is for. To me, that feels like a tease. I don't have closure with that, and that's why I hate when they do that.
But don't you like getting teased?
Well, I do, but I do like eventually having that orgasm, though. You know, don't just leave me blue balled for like the next 4 days.
Well, about 10 years, and then it takes my cocaine for you to.
I mean, if I go to a strip bar and I watch the girls dancing, okay, that's the briefcase. That's me getting interested in what I'm seeing in front of me. But at the end of by the end of the night, I'm gonna
Yeah,
be
but
banging one of those women,
oh,
or I'm
but
gonna go home very
isn't
unsatisfied.
isn't the ending the
Do you see what
friends
I'm
you
saying
made
now?
along the way?
Yeah,
Yeah, but
fuck that.
I think I think the main issue with you, and this is, yeah, I don't mean it like in a negative way, but what you get so upset about is you attach way too much weight story wise on the briefcase.
Yeah, like I said, it is a pet peeve of mine,
Yeah,
and
yeah, I get it, but
like it's not something major, but when
yeah.
it gets me going, like I see it in some movies. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there's been a couple of cases over the course of my entire life being on this
So
earth.
Seven, have you seen? I'm assuming you've seen Seven,
Yeah,
of course.
I
'Cause
know what was in the box in
yeah.
7.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Because
it
it's
was the
never
woman. It was
told.
his wife's head.
It's
They
never
tell you.
told.
No, they don't tell you directly, but they tell you without telling you. It's the wife's head. Everybody who's watched that movie knows that it's
What
the
if it's
wife's
the
head.
bill to his dry cleaning?
Well, Gannon, what do you think? Zion, jump in here. Come on. I don't mean to be taking over this entire podcast.
Oh, so no Starfield talk?
Oh no, I'm still getting to Starfield. But that's only gonna be a few sentences though.
I've changed my Discord profile picture to a Koshi jump scare.
Really? You son of a bitch.
What's in the briefcase? We'll never know.
Like I said,
I
you know,
mean-
it's just a pet peeve of mine. But
I mean, Tarantino knows.
No, I believe that he specifically never thought about it, just to piss Koshi off. He knows
no,
Koshi
no.
exists.
I believe there's literally something like, "Oh yeah, I know, but I'm never gonna tell."
I genuinely hope he never tells.
No, he doesn't plan to tell.
Good. I think it's best that way.
actually, he's already come out and commented on that. And it's one of the reasons why I hate when directors or storytellers in general do that stuff. He's already come out and commented that when he developed the idea of this suitcase, that's all it was the idea that there's something in there that is so, like, it takes your breath away when you look at it, that you would understand why Julius and I forget the other character's name, but John Travolta and what's his face, why
It
they
is
would.
literally a MacGuffin.
It is literally a MacGuffin, and he never had any intention of anything being in there physically. All it was just a light. When you open it up, a light would go off, and that's what creates the glow. And he left it up to the people watching the movie to come up with their own ideas. Now I get that from a writer's point of view, but I hate when they do that because I feel like you're forcing me, who's paid $15 to sit down and watch your movie, not counting
Here he fucking
snack,
goes again.
to come up with to fill in your fucking blanks because you think you're a goddamn genius. You know what? You're not.
Yes, I am.
See,
Like I said though, that's my pet peeve. That's the way I think.
yeah,
I don't like when movies or
I
directors
see.
do
I
that.
like. It doesn't like it, obviously not every movie and everything, but I like it because then you get through the theory crafting and you get fun theories about it, like the soul or the it's Elvis's gold suit, which is a theory that's that's what's in the briefcase and all of that.
I've never heard that one.
It's hang on, I had it here.
New profile picture.
Uh, so there's a one where because in True Romance, there's the Elvis suite, and but Marcus his wife is because Uma Thurman goes to the 50s bars and everything like that, so he wants the golden Elvis suit for Mia to show his affection to her. That's one of the theories.
Doesn't
I
update on
never
the
heard that
overlay
one.
for you, Zion, because you haven't changed it on for your full profile. It's only on the server.
Oh,
What's up?
he's keeping the other one for another one.
What is he
overlay-
trying?
the-
Is he?
Yeah, he changed his profile picture as well, but because he hasn't changed it for his actual Discord profile, it's only for the server profile. It hasn't updated on the overlay, unfortunately. But he's
Yeah, he did.
he's done the other character that was looking at the briefcase.
Yeah, John Travolta. Oh my god. Look, I'm not expecting you guys to agree with me.
Oh, that's good
Oh,
because we
that's
don't.
good. Yeah, 'cause
I know
nobody
you
here
don't.
does.
I know I'm the only voice of reason here, and I think
Oh,
Seth would agree with
fucking
me
Christ.
were he here. I don't expect you guys to agree with me. Just understand where I'm coming from.
No, I get it. It's pet peeves. You can really.
Yeah,
it's kinda
we
like
get where you're
phobias,
coming
you
from.
can't
We
help
just
it.
think it's dumb as fuck.
So you agree with me then? That's what I'm
No,
No.
we do not.
We agree. We agree that it's a pet peeve of yours.
We agree it annoys you.
I just like closure. That's all. I like closure.
Yeah.
I like a story that goes
You
from
like
beginning
happy endings.
to end that has an actual end. Whether it's bad or it's good, I just prefer to have an end.
Oh my god. All right.
Okay.
Let's move on from this because I want to start wrapping this up. But I want to talk about what was it? The Last Descendant, which we played the beta of last
the first
week.
one, you mean?
The First Descendant, even. Yeah, that's the one. Such a good game. I've already forgotten the title. We played the beta for. I mean,
Like 2
1
days,
day,
3 days.
technically for you guys. Together,
I
at least
played
before.
I played roughly 7 hours. And I feel like the rest of us kind of played roughly that amount.
About
What do
20.
what do we think about it? What is our first impressions of it?
I
Uh,
personally think it's got some cool ideas, but I think overall it's boring.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, but I think it's going to be one of those games, same as Warframe, where if I do decide to get into it, I will play it for a while, put it down, play it for a while, put it down. It's not something I will, play hundreds of hours in a solid set. It'll be something I play over the course of months, if not years, if I come back to it, kind of thing.
Hmm.
Because it's so much like Warframe, like the way you do all your gear and stuff.
It feels very
Yeah.
cookie cutter.
Yeah.
It feels Korean, like Korean Warframe, which
Yeah.
I do enjoy Warframe, but I don't think I enjoy it so much. I want a Korean version of it.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah,
I
I agree
100%
with
that.
For me, it's also what Zion said, but it's also how's the cash up gonna be? Because I wouldn't like if all of us wanted to play it, I wouldn't hate it, but at the same time, like I said last week, it's a bit of a Destiny meets Warframe, mostly Warframe with some other stuff mixed in, but it's not as good as any of those. It's like
Yep. That was going to
just
be my point.
okay of the things, but like entertaining enough to kind of brainlessly play it. I have one big thing though, that is quote unquote constructive criticism, and that is please be able to dodge through mobs, because I think I've died at least 6 times from just being surrounded by mobs in a
Yeah,
corner and not being able to dodge away from it.
The hitboxes and unit collision can be definitely fixed, because it felt clunky because of it.
But like it's not bad, but it's just average game.
Like I agree with what Funky said, and it's clearly taken inspiration from a few different games, but it doesn't do any of them better than those games.
Yeah,
And it feels like it's not bringing anything fresh to the table. So yeah, you're right. This is the type of game you can just kind of switch your brain off and mindlessly run through a few levels, but I think it's going to struggle to keep players interested long enough to make it viable as a free to play game.
It also depends on the
what
cache.
game? Just because I'm late to the party.
The first Descendant.
Oh, it looked pretty good.
It is literally average the game.
Yeah, it's very mid, and I feel like in the market of free to play games, that is not going to cut it. I think it's going to fall very quickly to the wayside, and it's going to be forgotten.
I think a lot of people, especially in those sort of mixes of games, are going to try it and go, the one I'm currently playing is not only better. Obviously, I've already got all that shit ton of time already spent, so that's a big concern for MMOs and free games. But it just doesn't. I don't think it does enough that it's going to be sustained.
Yeah, it's in a very hostile marketplace, and I don't think it's got enough to bring in new players from those other games that have already got the investment. They'll not want to abandon, for example, Warframe to go over to play this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like if you tell me you want to play the first Descendant or Warframe, and I've got both installed, I'll pick Warframe almost every time.
Let's put it this way: the first Descendant has 17 viewers on Twitch.
I mean, the beta's down.
The beta is over.
It's not running at the minute. So that's actually quite a high number considering it's not.
Nobody's played it.
Well, there's people playing it.
Is it a rerun or is it a?
Must be a rerun.
No, they're live, but
it must be the devs.
Three of them are Dutch.
Oh yeah, well that explains it.
Yeah.
It's.
I seriously don't think it's gonna amount to much. I think maybe a year after the launch, if they keep it funded, it'll
If the
it'll
cash up
maybe
isn't
turn into
horrible
something good.
and it finds its audience.
But yeah, that's my biggest issue is that or my biggest fear with it is that even if it does end up being, you know, a somewhat enjoyable game, I feel they're gonna ruin that very quickly with the cash shop right after.
I think
Yeah,
the
careers.
main thing about it is that the combat, while it's fun enough, it's not
It's
that fun that
serviceable.
you want to come back. Like while you're playing it, like you're not bothered by it, but it's also not something like, oh, I gotta come back and because the shooting is so great or the abilities are so awesome to use, and the synergy with this and that, it's just like yeah,
It'll do.
yeah. That'll do, babe.
Everything was very mid. I think they need to go. They need to work on it a lot more.
Yeah, I think
I get the
especially with where
impression.
Destiny is these days, like it's Prime, Warframe and Destiny are kind of like not as
Falling.
popular at the moment. So it's
Yeah.
it's the prime time to kind of strike the iron while
Oh,
it's
it
hot.
definitely
but
is. It's definitely the
there's
right
nothing.
time.
There's
It's
nothing.
just
Yeah, it's not the right game.
it's the right time,
Helldivers
but
might
that
be.
game isn't ready, which is I think they're gonna rush it out, and then they're gonna try and fix it over like the next year after its launch, which is what a lot of games have been doing lately. But I think they're definitely gonna do that, and then I think what they're gonna do is they're gonna kind of hold back a little bit on the cash shop. They're gonna obviously have one, but they're gonna hold back a little bit on it just to get people interested and get them following with the progress. And then once the game is clearly in a good state, they're gonna slam that cash shop in at full fucking force, and they're gonna tank the entire reputation into the drain for short-term gains, as is tradition with the gaming industry of late.
Yeah.
So in that respect, I am going to be wary to even invest much time to begin with, and knowing that the cash shop is eventually going to screw it is going to make me even more not want to invest time into it, because it's just going to be why would I want to spend hours and hours into a game that I know that I am more convinced is going to like give me the middle finger and make it a complete waste later down the line.
Kind of like Destiny.
Yeah, kind of. But I mean, as much as shit as I give Destiny, it does still have its role. The gunplay is still amazing, as you would expect from a Bungie game, but the content is just a bit flat. But once that new expansion drops, it's going to retain all its players. Like everybody's going to come back and play it. Typically the expansions are fine. It's the post content that kind of sucks ass. And especially their monetization. But I mean, a lot of people
it's just also
get them
these
from
days. The
sites,
problem with is that they don't really get new players.
No, the new player experience is awful. Even though they've tried to,
but just in general,
like
they even when if let's say you get a sale and you can have you buy the expansion and you get everything else for free. Even then, still most players are just like, no thanks.
Yeah, there's too much to catch up on.
Yeah,
just too much to catch up on.
Yeah, that is also true.
And then once you've caught up, there's not enough to
because
do.
of the and just because of the way the game is structured, like buy the battle pass, buy the dungeons, buy the expansion.
Oh, it's ridiculous! It's ridiculous the amount of that, like.
And then here's everything is aimed towards the cash shop. Why would you want to play as good as the gunplay is? Like that's the only reason to play.
Yeah. Yeah,
because I care about the lore, but I can get that from channels.
The one place where you can enjoy the gunplay is the Crucible, the PvP mode, which has been practically abandoned in favor of all the development going towards Marathon. So the PvP crowd left. They were just waiting for Marathon to potentially come out and be good for that to rein them back in. But I don't know. I mean, that's why I stopped playing, because the PvP was just the same monotonous shit over and over. No new maps, no new game modes. There's just crap.
Yeah. For me, it was the sunsetting, because I never played the PvP. I like the PvE, but sunsetting all the weapons, I spent by then 2.5 years getting all my epics, and then maybe they can be gone in like 4 months, and like, no, fuck off.
Yeah.
I worked hard to get these. Let me keep them, and all of the content. But it's just it's a shit. I think the one contender possibly, which I don't think it's gonna do that, but it might satisfy people enough, is Helldivers, perhaps.
Maybe.
No.
Not to the extent of like an MMO light, but kind of like the fun doing something with your friends, having a wild time shooting shit and putting it down, and then maybe coming back to that aspect of it.
I could be
Helldivers
wrong.
is a good game. If it's similar as the first one, it's a good game for groups like us who play for 2 to 3 hours at a time, a couple of times a week. It's not good for gamers who want to play all day,
Yeah,
or
no.
every day, or something like that. But it is, like you say, it is for groups that are there for the fun of the game rather than the story or the open world or anything. It's there for the fun, than more than anything else.
Mhm.
I think it'll do well
100%
for us. But
Science message.
Huh?
Come again?
I 100% science message.
100. Oh, okay, yeah.
Because I was
Yeah,
going to
no,
say the
see,
same
yeah,
thing.
exactly. Yeah. No, I didn't mean it for like a single player or like the playing the PvE and the story and all that. No, just like literally like like us, just having something to do, having a I guess a world in which to just goof around a bit, like we were saying with the open world stuff, but kind of multiplayer, just shooting the shit kind of thing.
Mhm.
it does
Just
look like it's going to be fun as well.
yeah.
By and large, it seems to be better than the first one, except in one very, very important regard, and that's that it looks like Cape no longer goes swoosh.
I'm sure
Which,
they'll do it in the swoosh mechanic.
for those who didn't play it, because the first one was like an isometric twin stick shooter, if you spun your character around 10 times in a row,
Yeah.
because of the physics, your cape span out like just full length. If
Yeah.
you did 10, if you span 10 times in a row, you got an achievement called Cape Go Swoosh. But because it's one of those stupid games, you have a bunch of stupid achievements where like in what's the dwarf one we played? My brain just went flat. Deep Rock Galactic. There's an achievement for not kicking barrels because they know everybody will kick the fucking barrels. It's that sort of level of like self-awareness of what people are going to do in their game.
I also like the fact that, from the sounds of things, they encountered that visual bug, and instead of like, they were like, "Oh, should we fix this?" And then someone was like, just an achievement about it.
Warframe has one of those. You have a sword in a two-handed sword in Warframe, and if you have a certain skin for it, it's absolutely fucking massive. It like it's like you have 4 players, you can stack the 4 players up, and they might get close to being as big as it, but it still just counts as an average length sword, so it doesn't break the mechanics or everything like that. You're just running around with a massive sword, and it's like, we're never fixing that.
Good. That's funny.
It's still in the game, like years later. It's still there. I even have it, and it's just like you're mad, and it's a bit of fun. It's like, no harm.
I think if it doesn't if it doesn't like break anything of the game, just leave it in. It's funny.
Yeah. Exactly. Have a bit of fun.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway.
Does anybody have any final things they want to say before we end it? Things to wrap it up on. I don't know if I want to let you speak anymore after your terrible takes for the majority of this this show.
But it's his game of the year.
They're just far ahead of your time.
Oh, right. Okay. What do you want to
say? Starfield review.
Well, I was going to say, before you say anything, I wanted to ask you, Koshi. I just got done taking the dogs outside, talking to the wife, and she said that IGN gave 7 out of 10 to Starfield. And I was curious on your thoughts.
So, I'll make this as quick as possible. I won't go into a deep dive, if you will. Starfield, I feel, is the best written Bethesda game. I had the most fun in that game over all of their other games. I feel it's the most polished. Even some of the twists, while not groundbreaking or like, holy shit, I need to tell all my friends about this, are still pretty decent. Overall, I feel like the game is exactly what they set out to do. And you're either on board with it or you're not. Now, this is all pre-mod, because mods are, of course, are going to take it to another level. I feel like it has the groundwork laid down to become the game of the decade, a game you're always going to go back to every couple of years, and you're going to play for 6 months at a time. You're going to sit there and spend a week or two modding the shit out of it. I feel it is their best work ever to date, and it astounds me that some people just shit on the game and don't like it, but at the same time, I also understand why.
Ziggy D had a good video about it.
Everyone who says this is Fallout 4 in space, I agree with, but that sentiment is very, very true.
It's
because
if you like Fallout 4,
down.
it's great. If you didn't, it's bad.
Exactly. You have to sit down with that in mind. If you're going to play Fallout 4 in space or the next iteration of it,
but it's like even
that's
when
what you're going to play.
Even when someone says, "Oh, it's Fallout 4 in space," and while I majority, the majority of that I would agree with, but it is a better Fallout 4 in space.
It is.
Like it is Fallout 4, but it doesn't have the same drawbacks that Fallout 4 had. It is improved upon them, and it feels better because of it. And I do agree that, like, yeah, there could be maybe a few less loading screens, sure. But I mean, I'm running it on an SSD, so I'm barely noticing it to begin with. So fuck it. But
I think
it is.
Ziggy.
Other than that, it's I don't really see the most of people's like negative points. So I feel like they're just
Ziggy D had a
nitpicking.
great. No, I think that's why I'm referencing to the Ziggy D. I think it depends on what you're there for, because there's some things that are good, and the game overall is better than the sum of its parts. But if you're there for the actual space exploration, like
but then
flying
you would,
around,
yeah,
that
like you would go to another
weak.
game.
And if that's what you're going in for, then you're gonna be disappointed. If you were really excited about the base building and everything like that, that from what he's saying is also just kind of very much lacking, and kind of
yes, the base building
apart
is
from
lacking.
apart from doing it with your ship, the actual outposts and everything are kind of just like
Yeah.
So he said it like every little thing of these could be deal breakers for somebody.
Yeah.
But if they're not, then you're gonna have a good time. But if it is a deal breaker, then to quote him, I understand why it's a deal breaker, and I can't really argue against it either. That's why it's kind of like a.
The problem I see is that a lot of people they've went into the game wanting a specific something, not realizing. I'm pretty sure I talked to Koshi about this at some point. Like they were going in wanting ship exploration, like space exploration and flying around from like planet to planet, and it's just like, but that isn't what the game was going to provide in the first place. So if you wanted that, why not go play a game like Elite Dangerous or
I think
like,
it's not so much
or Star Citizen in
they
its current state.
They expected more from it. Like they didn't expect Elite Dangerous, but they expected a little more than they were given.
Well, whether they were expecting more or something different, Bethesda set out to do what they wanted to do, and they achieved it 100%.
Yeah.
And
like,
that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line.
I feel like a lot of people have gotten this idea into their head where it's like, this game isn't for me, therefore it's shit. When really it's just like, this game isn't for me, and that's fine. It's for someone else. Like
it's kind of like
you don't need to give a negative. It's like going to play Fortnite and expecting a story, and it's like giving it a shit review because it didn't give you a good story. It's like, well, that's not what it was providing you.
It's kind of, and this is something I grew up with, and what my mother kind of taught me just because you don't like something doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah, exactly.
And this was mostly towards food. Just because you don't like this dish doesn't mean it's a shit dish,
Yeah,
kind of thing.
But-
And it's,
but a
I
lot
think
of
it's
a lot of morons have been giving it like really like harsh reviews because they don't understand that.
yeah.
So what I heard in regards to negative reviews, and this is what I just heard, and like I didn't want any spoiler alerts, so I haven't watched anybody really playing it a whole lot. Just seen some videos on YouTube, but
Everyone dies at the end.
From what IGN has said, is that the biggest complaint and why they're giving it such a low rating is the way that the
7 isn't
menus are. It's kind of low for Bethesda and as much hype as Starfield is. I mean,
I don't.
For IGN, a 7 is average.
yeah, basically. But the menus apparently they're 10 years old.
Yeah, they're a bit
They are
clunky.
shit. They are
I
shit.
do
They are a
hate
bit clunky.
everything about those.
And
That's
then-
my.
And I feel that's because of the engine they're using that kind of fucks them a bit.
Yeah,
Well,
I would agree.
It's been in development for how long? I mean, it's probably using the same.
It's
way
been
back when it first
Morrowind,
started,
Morrowind, and all of that.
yeah.
That's also
But-
part of the problem is when it takes them forever to get a game out.
Mhm.
That game is already outdated.
Yeah, yeah,
Starfield was supposed not Starfield. Star Citizen was supposed to be when it was beginning development was supposed to be like the next generation
Groundbreaking.
of video games.
Yeah.
But
See,
because it's taken so long to get anywhere with the development of the game, when you look at it now, it looks like fucking 10 years
Yeah.
old and
I
shit.
think it's also one of the reasons why I don't really have an interest in playing it, because it is a Bethesda game and I kind of already know what that's gonna be and feel like. There's two reasons, and one is a question I want to ask Koshi, but I'm just kind of bored of that Bethesda way because they've been doing it that way
Uh-huh.
since Morrowind, and it's just kind of like, can we get something new, please? Maybe like some fresh ideas that aren't the fresh idea isn't just base building, like push the envelope a bit more, but that's personal. The second thing, and this is my fear, but it's a bit too early to really say, but maybe Koshi can. I feel like it's a Bethesda game with which is very open worldy with not a lot of story in it, and now with the fact that you have procedural generated planets and everything like that, it's gonna feel even more open world with less content. And this is your cue, Koshi, to see whether that's true or not, because to me it feels like we're not really gonna have a true answer to that till maybe the start of next year, because that's when people really already put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours in it as a general consensus.
I feel like they could have done with less procedural generated planets and not really lost anything. But what I'm thinking is maybe they've intentionally done that with the idea that modders would take the planets and do stuff with them.
Yeah, I think they've basically just added the planets in as, hey, you can add planets in, but here's a shit ton of ones that you can just use for dump your mod on. And I think that because they have said it's been built from the ground up with modders in mind, so I think that might be why make it
That's
slightly
also,
easier.
But if that's not the reason, then I don't know why else they would have put that many planets in, because
I
it
can
doesn't
tell you
it doesn't add
exactly why
anything.
they did that. I can tell you exactly why they did that.
Okay.
Because when
Leave
they
it
were
open
sitting
ended.
down, and they were looking at how to develop and showcase every single item, every single piece of food, every single piece of equipment, every single piece of weapon, ammo, every detailed, super detailed, I will add,
16 times the details.
16 times the detail of items in the game. That wasn't just on a whim. That was them sitting down and going, okay, space is vast. We want to make the player feel that. We're going to make space so vast, and we're going to give them so much room to go around and see just how deep and how expansive that space really is, that when you go from planet to moon to star to gas giant to planet to moon again, and you see just how much is out there and how long it takes you to land on one section of the planet and run from one position to the end of that little section of the planet, and you still have 99% of the other rest of the planet to go, and you have 1,000 planets like that. What they're telling you is they want you to feel just how empty and big space is.
Koshi.
That's a nice
Question.
theory. I don't think it's true.
It's
but
not a
I'd
theory.
I'd like
No,
to
it's
see.
not a theory. It is a theory. Okay, it is a theory.
Mhm.
A game
But
theory.
if you look at the way the game is developed, it's kind of clear that that's obviously what they
But
were going for,
is it
because they're
to
going
the
for that aesthetic
Yeah.
of
Question.
NASA punk, but everything has a working part to it. Everything has something realistic in a sense to it, like all the food, all the items you pick up, all the detail. You walk into a random house in some planet, open the refrigerator, guess what? There's food in the refrigerator. All right. I know
No.
it's weird,
Yeah,
but if you sit down and think about what that means, it seems like a little nothing really to the player. But if you sit down and think about what that means, it means that they're living in a realistic area of a realistic galaxy. And what does a realistic galaxy tell you? That it's going to be open, it's going to be empty, it's going to have a lot of stuff that you can either mine or manipulate otherwise.
but
But at the end of the day, like if you go to NASA's website right now or some scientist's website and ask like, okay, well, how many livable worlds are there out there that humans can be on?
yeah, but
You're going to get like, okay, well, there's 5 that we know of out of these 300,000 over here. Now, yeah, I'm
yeah,
exaggerating, but you see what I'm saying?
yes, I get what you're saying, but here's my question, and it's kind of what Gannon was saying. In the end of the day, that is nice, but it's still a game. And is all of that stuff, does that make the game better or worse? I'm not saying
I would.
I'm not saying I would I'm saying the 1,000 worlds. Like if it was, oh hey, here's 100 procedurally generated worlds or stuff like that. That's but like the vast amount of it is it to a detriment to the actual playing of the game, not or is it or does it add to it?
I would say it's both. Let me give you an example. Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. They
Never heard of
had.
it.
It's a small indie game.
Okay.
They had placed 700 of those. What are they? Acorns or something like that. I
Oh,
forgot.
don't get me
Dooku nuts.
fucking started.
I know. Okay. They put 700 of those Dooku nuts all scattered all over the entire map. The purpose of that was, and this has been said by the developer, whoever took over for Miyamoto. The purpose of that was so that you could, because when you go and collect those nuts, you use those to increase your wallet or your inventory space, so you can hold more weapons, you can hold more shields, more whatever. All right. They put so many of them in there originally when the game launched, 700, which they eventually upped to 1,000, or 999. I'm not sure which. They put so many in there, not for the purpose of you to collect them all, because if you collect them all, you're not going to get anything. Like there's no achievement, there's no congratulations.
Doesn't it give you a golden poop?
No, it gives you nothing.
I thought
You
it gives you a
collect
golden poop.
you collect the very last one. Nothing in the game acknowledges that you collected that last one.
Oh.
All right. The purpose was so that the player would never run out of chances of finding Dooku nuts, so that they would never feel limited in the amount of accessories that they have in their backpack. There was always a way for them to increase their inventory space. If this one's too hard,
Hold up.
Go over here and get this one. Hold on.
If you collect 900 Korok seeds in Breath of the Wild.
That was added later. And now let me get to that point.
Hestu's gift. It says a gift of friendship given to you by Hestu. It smells pretty bad and it looks like a golden poop.
Yeah, but I'm gonna get to that. I'll get to that and I'll address that. Originally it was 700. And the point was, if this Dooku nut is too hard for you to get, you can go over here and get this one instead. We don't want the player to feel limited. We want this to be for both casuals and hardcores. However, that's not how people saw it. They saw it as, I need to collect all 700. And when they collected all 700, which took a long time, they got shit for it and people got pissed. Well, I went and collected all 700 and I got shit for it.
Did you get
so
pissed?
When they updated the game and released the DLC, they upped it to 999 or 1,000. And then they added that gift in to appease the people that were pissed off. Now, what is the point of this? Starfield is the same way. They added all these planets and moons for you to explore and look at, and they give you something to do on every single one, so it's not a complete waste of time. But you're not meant to visit all of them. You're meant to cherry pick which one you want to put down your outpost. You're meant to cherry pick which one you want to put down your second outpost so that you can build a network, so that you can get money in the game. That was the point of it. Now you're asking me, is it too much? Well, it's too much in the sense that players don't think that way, that they're going to want to explore every single thing, and then they're going to complain that there's nothing there. Now, there is a written rule that has actually been discussed between game developers and different studios, from Sony to Nintendo to Microsoft to all the indies on Steam. When you look at points of, and I've actually seen a video on this too. When you look at a point of interest, you have like, say, Outer Worlds or Skyrim. You have a point of interest from A to B to C. If you draw a circle around those three, there's about a 40-second to a minute variation between going from one to the next encounter. All right, sub encounter, meaning something on the side, something not tied to the main story. All right, that is one of the ways they trick players into exploring. All right, and they found between 40 seconds to a minute is the perfect amount of time it takes that a player is willing to give the game to explore before they decide, you know what, there's nothing out here, I'm bored, I'm moving on. With Starfield, those same points of interest are anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. And they did that purposely because they want you to understand that the game is expansive, that space itself is expansive. Again, is that a detriment to the player? Is that a turnoff to the player? Yes. But on the other hand, if you change your way of thinking, or another player comes in and doesn't think that way, but thinks like, well, I don't care about these planets over here. I want this planet here because it's got the helium-3 I need to power my generators. So that's the one I'm going to focus on, and that's the one I want. And for that player, it works perfectly. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it, yeah.
Also, you asked me originally, too, like, is it too much? And I want to say, like, when it compares to the story, I would say no, because the story, there's so much. It's like they took Fallout 4, and you know how they have each faction story mission? Each faction itself can last you, if you rush it, like 2 to 3 hours to completely finish it. But if you take your time and play the way the game intends you to play, you can spend days or weeks on the same faction. And then you still have 4 other factions to do. And reason why I say it's the game of the year, vanilla game, not mods, is because each faction is written so well. I had so much fun doing faction A. I had so much fun doing faction B, even with the annoyances of the Bethesda magic, if you will. I still had a blast playing each faction. And I didn't even touch the other 500 planets in the game. So to me, when I look at that, I see it as bonus. But I will say this to wrap up because I've been talking too long and I didn't mean to talk this long. I will say this. It is not game of the year. As of right now, I still hold Dead Island 2 over this.
That's just bizarre.
It is bizarre, but if you'd played it, you would kind of understand. But again, it's also my personal opinion. I enjoy games like Dead Island 2 more than I do Star Citizen. Although games like Star Citizen I hold very close in second place.
You mean
It's a
Starfield?
very close second place. Star Citizen, Starfield, whatever.
Anyway,
There's too many Star games out right now. Stargate, Star Wars, Star Citizen, Star my dick.
what
These
was
are
meant to be
whatever.
what was meant to be a potentially 10-minute section has turned into 30 minutes. So let's.
Well, he had a question that I could not answer in one sentence. I had to explain.
It's fine, Koshi. We understand that it takes you 3 times as long to say things as the normal people.
It's something I'm aware of and I'm working on.
To wrap it up, for those listening, if you're on the fence about Starfield is not a flawless game. It does have its issues, as you would expect, because every bloody Bethesda game has its issues. But if you are looking for a Bethesda game, this is the best Bethesda game to date. It is better than any other Bethesda game before it, and it does what you expect it to do, but it does it better than previous installments. So if you're looking for that kind of, game, exactly as Bethesda would normally deliver to you, Starfield is
Wait for Outer
fantastic.
Worlds 2.
Starfield is that game. It is well worth playing if that's the kind of game you're after. But don't go into it expecting it to be Star Citizen, for example. It is not going to replace Star Citizen in what it's trying to achieve. It is doing what a Bethesda game does, and it does it very, very well. And it does it way better than any previous ones. Like Koshi said, the faction missions, or like they're quite lengthy on each, and there's multiple of them to do, and even them on their own, you could ignore the main plot and still have a fucking fantastic time doing it. Anyway, we've ran way over time. We're 2.5 hours right now, so we're gonna just end it here and call it a day. So thank you for listening, everyone. Thank you, Seth, for chilling out with us as our special guest.
Cheers.
Finally, people will know what he sounds. Seth can listen to his own voice.
Great.
Like, I don't sound like that.
So hopefully I'll have the overlay sorted in future episodes to at least show him on the screen next time. We'll see about that. So thank you for listening, everyone. We've hope you had a great time, and we'll see you. Hopefully, we'll see you next week again for more bullshit shenanigans and Koshi's hot takes. So thank you. Goodbye, everyone. Bye.
What's in the briefcase?
Bye.
Have we gone live yet?